should be on that one. Boom. All right. So I am technically live. I'm live on the Twitch. I've got the Twitch live feed up. We've got Discord. I got Discord going on in the background. So if if you let me chat in the Discord here right now. I will allow rotation of people if people want to come in, if someone wants to jump in and continue to talk with me. I prefer saying things and have people bounce off ideas off me. I'm better that way. I'm not too good on, basically, being solo. As you can see behind me, I'm in my house and I'm at the Wall Studio, right? Isn't it cool? I got my tree and my pirate flag at the back. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other things to do. I'm not going to do the regular open because this is low key wall episode for me because I've got so much stuff on my chest that I want to get off that I can't wait until the new year to 2018. Here we go. I'm deciding I'm going to load it into the Facebook group. I'm going to sharing the link right now. Yeah, low-key wall. I'm just going to call it low-key wall. I need a vent. I need to get things off my chest. Because not everything is, how can I put it? I can't wait. I got to talk. And I was horrible through Christmas, because I had all these different things I wanted to talk about, and no one wanted to get into the minutia. And I've got someone jumping into the Twitch room here on the Discord. What's up, Reinhold? I can hear you. It's I don't know if your audio's coming through. It should be coming through. Looks like it should be. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Definitely sure it is. Let me go make sure. I don't want you to be on here. Oh, there we go. The streaming microphone, that was off. Okay. I want to make sure everything is working. So, just in case everything does work for you, and we don't have to worry about you being all right. Cool. All right, your audio should be coming through. Hopefully it is. It does look like it is. I've got the level like it is. No, I don't have to restart anything. So, yeah, I decided to do this low-key episode of Wall. I was going to do one last week, but OBS kept crashing on me, and I can't wait till next Tuesday to get things off my chest. So that's why I'm here, and thank you for Randall for joining me. Uh-oh, I broke something. Whatever made your levels come through this, I think I just somehow broke listening to you. Hold on. Something I broke something. All right, Reinhold?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I broke something. I got it to come through, and I was cool, I did it, and I must have, whatever. Settings work.
So amped up, you're not able to concentrate. I get it. What is going on that's causing you so much that you got to get that off your chest?
I got a lot. One thing is, I went to Kroger the other night because it's so freaking cold here in Indiana right now, and I picked up some Tim Tams. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Tim Tam Slam.
Tim Tams, yep.
Yeah, they had them, a whole stack of them was on clearance for $1. So I was like, oh, snap, I got some Tim Tams. So I've been Tim Tam slamming coffee all day, so. The heck was that? Oh, we got a follow. We got a new follow.
Oh, sweet.
Sweet, thank you for the follow. My face was in the way, so I didn't see that. So I apologize.
See who it is.
I tried to move it. I was like, "Woo, we got a follower!" Thank you. I don't know who that was, but welcome to We Are Libertarians here on Twitch. But yeah, I've got a couple of things. I've been adding things to the Trello board. The Trello board is basically a project management tool that I've convinced Dear Leader to use to help manage different things, ideas. Just more of expanding on a lot of the different tools that we use here at WAL. And so I put things on there. Some things I'm like, okay, this is good. I'm going to keep this for like the real show, the big show. The other things are like, nope, can't wait. I need to scream about this now, or I'm gonna. Oh, it's Boo Salmon is now following us. Okay, so thank you, Weeaboo Salmon.
Thanks for the follow.
Thanks for the follow. Yeah. All right. So the topics I wanted to go through is this whole the FISA bill being renewed, going to be going through, the weirdness of the UFO in the New York Times. Okay. People talking again about another Edward Snowden app or product. Like I said, another one. If you've been following Edward Snowden, you know what I'm talking about. Thorium being talked about, and the Mike Pence rule being more and more talked about, getting moved on because of the backlash of the Me Too movement.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah. If you think it was done,
get your contracts out if you're going to date today. I'm glad I don't have to worry about it anymore.
I'm glad too. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, oof, man, I have no idea
how
some
hit
of
under
these
the
people do
wire.
it. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, you'd have to have your contract. It's like, wow, I used to crap on Ethereum and their smart contracts, but not now. That's a you must need, some sort of blockchain contract just to have any intimacy or just or romance.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, I was one of the few who would never, have relations with a woman if she was drunk, because I just was like, I don't want the drama of her being upset about that, made a mistake, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But it's to the point now where that's not even. It's hard to even think about all the things you have to go through to deal with in order to date these days, without getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, when you go from that, like, I will not have sex with a drunk, but that's a great line to have, right? And the way they have blurred it so much that they say that it is like rape or sexual assault when, I've read an article talking about how some women were like, well, it was easier just to go along with it and say yes, not to be rude. It was just easier. I got.
But that's drunk has nothing to do with that. That's just a woman's. That's her mindset and her thought process, and that's her decision she has to make.
Correct. Yeah, and as good as most men think they are, or most humans think they are, most humans cannot read minds. So the only thing we can go on is what.
Don't tell women that.
Yeah, is body language and verbal communication. So if someone is giving you the body language that they don't want to proceed on with a romantic encounter or any type of encounter, or they're giving you the language of that, those are the only ways that we can really interact, up until the point that we can finally start reading minds back and forth from each other, which, who knows, maybe.
And nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Not really wants that, no.
Unless you're like the deepest status in the world and you want that so you can make sure everyone stays in line.
Yeah, if you want like cameras set up in your house so that the police can watch and make sure you're not burgled or anything like that, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
those types of people.
Yeah, those freaking types of people.
But they could do that. They don't need to make everybody else do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So the article, that got me about this is a Me Too article. Now, like, I'm gonna bring this website up. Like I said, we are Libertarians. We go through different places, get different articles. Just because I'm using this site doesn't mean I support everything that's going on this site, or that I'm also, or even that I'm against it. I hate trying to do the disclaimer, but it is what it is. Yeah, so it is. I'm doing it's from A Voice for Men. It's Dear Me Too. I'd like to introduce you to the hashtag Mike Pence rules. It's written about Paul Elam. He's one of the guy who runs Voice for Men. It's like author's note: Merry Christmas and happy to a lot of you, including my heathen, non-believing brethren out there. Anyways, welcome to the calamity now popular known as hashtag Me Too. Now, I did a talk on the current sexual assault and sexual harassment hysteria back in November, when all the attention was over Harvey Weinstein. Back then, he did a talk about like how all this stuff was coming out. I did that in anticipation for all this high-profile liberal asshats and conservatives who go right under the bus as the Fema frenzy went into overdrive. Some people felt that it was talk with a little less heartless, and you know what? They're right. I'm going to have a grown little heartless about the self-inflicted blue pill misery of pompous blowhards who never gave a rat's ass what was happening to their fellow man as long as they were fat with cash and living in the dream state of being above it all. All right, so blue pill has to deal with the whole like blue pill, red pill, like a Matrix analogy. Like if you're red pill, you're woke, you're more woke, or you're blue pill, you're not woke, and you're dealing with the whole feminazi phrase. But what they were talking about is that a lot of liberal men were totally fine when hashtag Me Too was going after rich, powerful executive, or going after Bill O'Reilly and like conservatives, when stuff like that was going after that. And now they're watching it come around and start hitting a lot of different of like the liberal community. They hit Cenk Uygur got hit with Justice Democrats, which that organization I am not fond of, but it is what it is. That's what happened, and it's let's see. Back on that, I'll try to get back on more of on Cenk. What happened with Cenk? Cenk wrote something about 18 years ago on a blog post, and that blog post, and he deleted the blog post, and it was 18 years ago, and he came out, and someone found it, put it out there. In this type of Me Too climate, they used that to get him pushed out of the organization, Justice Democrat, the organization that he helped get moving to help change the Democratic Party, and they used that to push him out. And the only thing he said was basically the ramblings of a young, horny male being just like raw and real and a little un-PC, on the internet. Which 18 years ago, I'm sure a lot of us probably have like blog posts just like that, just sitting in the mist somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like the fact that it was close to 2 decades ago, it's no defense for him, which was nuts. So it's slowly weakening down any defense or any ability for like men to have any defense to like the whole Me Too thing.
And I'm 50 years old, so I mean, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was stupid. And a lot of people in their 20s now are going, "Hey, I know a lot." You're not. You're stupid. You're going to look back on your days now and you go, "Man, I was so I made stupid decisions. I made stupid choices." And I look back on my 30s and my 40s the same way. And I know when I'm 60, I'm going to look back on the 50s and go, "God, man, what was I thinking?" Because we grow, we learn. So going back on something that somebody said 20 years ago and attributing to him now without giving him the chance to say, "Hey, I was stupid. It was wrong. I've learned since then," and given him that ability to grow and show that he's grown, seems kind of like somebody was just out for him, right? I mean, that's all that was.
Yeah, that's all that showed. Like someone was out to get him. A lot of outlets were thinking like, let's some conservatives. But the way the SJW backlash, because that was one thing that the Justice Democrat was trying to do, was get a lot of that socialist justice warrior crap out of the Justice Democrats. So that wasn't there, the identity politics crap. But to watch them do an about face and go right into identity politics, to me it seems more of a lot of those people, those of that ilk, or people who want that type of power, jumped in there and used that to take him down. Or it could have been a conservative. The only people like a lot of shows I've been listening to about it have been conservative. Like it's a conservative that did that. I'm like, why would a conservative go after Cenk Uygur for the Justice Democrat? What do they have to fear from a brand new organization? Nothing. The GOP has nothing to fear from it. It has nothing. And if they were going to do something, it would be more practical to launch that in the middle of an election and then wait while they're building up. It's dumb because they're just going to recuperate from it. So it has to be, to me, it looked like a power play inside that organization that someone wanted power and wanted Cenk out of the way.
And that's what's going on with Hillary, too. People don't want her running again, so they're trying everything they can to get her to not be able to run. So all the attacks you're seeing against her now are the same. It's all power plays within the party, and you're seeing that with this. I mean, this is all this is. Nobody on the right is caring about that.
Yeah, no one cares.
Nobody on the right cares about the identity politics. It's all they're eating themselves with this stuff. I had an argument with somebody today on Twitter, and he comes back and says, "Well, I can't believe a white male is going to complain about blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, excuse me a minute, I'm a human being, just like any other human being. Why are you attributing anything to me based off my race? Are you just as bad as Richard Spector, who you just slammed 5 minutes ago?
Yeah. It's like an Ouroboros. They're eating themselves. They're just going back over themselves.
They've always done that. The left have always done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
the right has too.
The right does it too. The right does it too.
Well, libertarians do it too.
Well, the libertarian infighting, libertarian infighting. What happens? It's like a backlash, like the echo chambers that happens inside there. They just kind of go after it, and it happens more. To me, it looked like it happens more in libertarian circles. I don't know because the circles are so small.
You're in the libertarian. You're in a libertarian circle. That's why you see it more.
Yeah, that's probably too. Yeah, yeah. And you only get to see the big ones that keep churning up.
But remember back in, it used to be with the I remember with the Democratic Party. This is in the 80s, 90s, and you would have arguments between animal rights activists and the eco guys because their agendas clashed. So then they would go after each other, and it was all infighting in the party because of this. So when specific agendas in a big tent party clash, you're going to have infighting. And that's what the parties are. They're big, just like the Libertarian Party is a big tent, the Republicans a big tent. Mm-hmm. They can't be that narrowly defined, or you're going to have a party of 20,000 people. You're not going to have a very large party. So you have to do that. You have to learn to get along within the party.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty much, or just like but it also does happen that way when it just like when people ideologies just like start fighting and they can't. Like with the SJW movement, it's just more of a you can't win with them. You've given them an inch, they take a freaking mile.
You cannot win with those guys because they are all or nothing. You think like me or you don't, and their thought process is generally anti anything but them, or anti anything that's establishment of any kind. It's almost like the anti-establishment movements in the past have been. They've kind of found their way into this type of world in a way. It's really kind of weird because it used to be that young people would rebel against their parents, and then their kids rebel against them. And it's like these guys have almost nothing left to rebel against, so now they're just going after any little slight, any little thing they can find as a wedge issue. They're inventing things now, and that's the problem. Is they're inventing things to be upset about, and it's so frustrating because there are people in other countries who are like we would love to have the type of environment you have where you can eat and have a job and live your life. What is wrong? Why are you guys eating yourself about this stuff? You should be happy. Mm-hmm. And they're not happy. They're not happy with themselves. So because they're not happy with themselves, they're leashing that unhappiness out onto everybody else to make themselves feel better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just like racism. When most racists are racist because they're unhappy with themselves. So they look at anything different and try to find fault with it in order to make themselves feel better. And it's the same mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to this Me Too thing, I grew up in the 70s. Free love, hippies, this whole thing about people being okay with being with each other does not have to be such a big hang up about it. And it's come completely around to the other way of thinking now where women were empowered with the thought that they had control over whether they could have sex or not. Mm-hmm. It's my choice. If I choose to have it, it's on me. Nobody else can say or do or make me do anything I don't want to do. And now it's to where they're victims. Why do you want to make yourself a victim? How can you be in an empowerment movement and claim victimhood at the same time? You can't. Yep. It's not going to work that way. When I started talking about making it illegal, it's illegal in England now to make cat calls. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My wife is like, it's crazy because I used to do that all the time to men. It was empowering. That it gave me the ability to say, hey, I like you. I think you're sexy. I think you're hot. I'm going to tell you that. And it was supposed to be a good thing to be able to tell somebody that. And now you can't do it. It's against the law. They're going to come with guns and put you in jail for that.
It's crazy.
And then women are going around going, where are all the strong men at? Where are all the men that could be, macho men that we can be attracted to? You're eliminating that. And the Man Show got a whole big start on that whole process of thinking that, they call it the pussification of America. Yep. And that's what they were fighting against back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And it's coming back again. We're doing that same thing every decade or two. We got to come back and have this stupid argument.
It's crazy that, yeah, you brought up the man show, and I remember growing up watching that show and like, yeah, this was awesome. And it's something like that definitely couldn't happen, especially on TV. You could probably get away with it on the internet. But even
it couldn't happen then. It couldn't happen then, and he did it. And because they had the Comedy Central said, "Screw it, we're going to do it. We're going because why not?" You know. And that's how you need people to say, "Hey, we're going to do this." And that's how it happens. I think it still happens on the internet. They're just going to get tons of crap for it, but don't think that they didn't get tons of crap for the man show. They did. They got a ton of it.
So I remember watching the show, not too much like into it. It was more of like, okay, that's the show, and then I would just move on. You know, it was one of the few things I would watch on TV back then. Of course, I had a steel cable back then, but you know, that's here.
Well, the very first man show episode came out, and that was their first opening pitch was that we're here to fight against the pacification of America, right? And it was Adam, you know, really pushing that. It wasn't
Jimmy.
Jimmy was along for the ride. Jimmy was a great sidekick kind of character.
Yeah.
He was on Win Ben Stein's Money, which was a great show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Love that show. But Jimmy made that show because he was funny, and he helped Adam be funny on the Man Show. Mm-hmm. And now you see him on late night TV crying about every little thing, and it's like, oh my God, what happened to you? I remember when you were, you know. And so they're trying to hit him with old Man Show clips. It's hilarious to watch, but it's the same infight. It's the same thing too. They're attacking him for being hypocrites, and that's what it is so much hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. So many people on the left have lived like this because of the free love movement, because of they grew up as that hippie type of generation of free love. So they've got so much stuff in the background, and the right was always more of the, social conservatives. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. The Mike Pence rule, of course, is what we're talking about. And so the conservatives have always been more that mindset. The left has always been much more free and open about sexuality.
Right.
That there's so much data to mine back. If you wanted to go after anybody, there's something there on the left. Yeah. And they need to be careful because they're going to all get hit from it if they don't watch it.
Correct. Yeah. If the Me Too clash keeps that trail up going into 2018, you're going to watch heads roll and just keep happening, and they're going to keep their organization in such like a free fall. With any luck, we'll get rid of the Democratic Party, and the Libertarian Party can take over.
Well, we've tried to. I've seen this before. You just think it's going to happen, and it just they end up coming out of the tailspin just enough to keep themselves going. They're smart enough to not commit complete suicide from this, but it's going to be fun to watch. I tell you, I've seen this before. I've seen it with the Republican Party doing where it ate itself and came back. And you think that one of them's going to go and it's going to be dead, and we're going to take over as libertarians, but that's not how it's going to happen. It's going to have to be a rise of people accepting the fact there are three mindsets in this country, and we need to have three parties for it. Because until that happens, it's just going to be the two going after each other all the time. So you need people to say, hey, I don't agree with either one of you. I agree with this third mindset of let everybody live their lives and quit dicking them over all the time. To get together and say, hey, let's just agree to get together and quit squabbling about the stupidity of the infighting in this party and be a legitimate place for the people with that mindset. If you look at the polls, a third of the people in this country have that mindset. Whether they realize it or state it or identify as libertarian, they have the mindset of people should be free to live their lives as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And when I go out and talk to people and I say, hey, you will agree with that? And they're like, yeah, that's the way it should be. I'm like, you're a libertarian. Oh, no, because I don't like, I'm not an anarchist. You don't have to be an anarchist to be a libertarian. They're not the same thing. You can be an anarchist and be a libertarian. That's fine. But that's not what it means. It's like saying, you have to be this in the Republican Party, you have to be that in the Democratic. There's so many different types of thoughts in those two parties because it's Big Tent. This is the same thing in the Libertarian Party. And when the Libertarians start to realize that and quit trying to push out people who are slightly different than they are in their thought and agree on a common goal and say, I agree with you 80%. Let's move forward and get that 80% in place, and we can fight over the other stuff when it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Until that happens, it's never going to gain any power.
Yeah. Well, it's fun being an anarchist in any political party. I guess tell you that much. It's a lot more fun because you get to watch people bicker over a ring that you don't care about, but the only reason you'll stick your finger into anything is because you view I view the United States government as a big thug organization that lets me put requests in on how they act like a gang towards me, and I gladly put up ask for different things. Yeah, that's how I view it. It's just how it is to me.
Well, and
the thing is that I don't want to push anyone into like having to live on anarchy. If you're fine with the system of government that you have, that's fine too. That's why I tell people, like, I'll preach it if someone wants to hear it, but most people don't care, so I don't try to preach about it.
The real difference when you talk to a lot of anarchists are like, still going to be. I'm like, well, okay, so you're arguing about how it's decided upon and legislated and enforced, and because it doesn't make any difference until we're at a point where we can say we're here. Let's have this argument. Why have the argument now? It's just. I think a lot of libertarians just want to argue about stuff. They just want to be against all the stuff that they see, and they just want to, and it's a funny thing because it's actually something that Gary Johnson said when he was talking to Al Franken, right? Mm-hmm. So Al Franken was trying to get reelected, and he asked for support, and Johnson said, no, I'm not going to. Oh no, it wasn't Gary Johnson. It was actually Penn Jillette, and he was talking to Gary Johnson about this. That's what it was. So Penn Jillette knew Al Franken from SNL. Yeah. And so Franken said, hey, I'm running. Can you support me? And Franken says, I think you're a great guy, but I'll never be able to support you politically because I disagree with you because I'm a libertarian. And Franken sent back a snippy little email that said, well, that's great that you have a political thought that's never going to be tested. Right?
Wow.
Your beliefs will never be tested in actual practice because no one will ever implement them. And I'm like, have you looked back at the 1770s? Because that's libertarianism at its core was what was being implemented with the Constitution and with the building of this country.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it was tested, and we found that there were flaws because we didn't specify good enough the limits. People tried reading things into the Constitution that says, oh, no, it says we can do this. From day one, they started that. Hamilton was doing that. From day one, they were trying to monkey with the Constitution and get things in that were clearly not designed to supposed to be there based off the intent.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Right. So you have to do a better job of spelling out the limits. Mm-hmm. Right. But that doesn't mean it wasn't tried and doesn't mean it didn't succeed. Mm-hmm. It just meant that it was tested, and we have a great country because of it. We need to get it back to that so it can be a better country.
Well, like a lot of times when libertarian values or ideas are tested into like a different spectrum, they're usually not one. It was before the term was even coined. The other times it happens is they're also not given credit for it either when it does happen. Like
exactly.
A lot of the stuff like the settlement of the Wild Wild West, a lot of that. Like a lot of people think the Wild West is like they think a tombstone, and it really wasn't like that. It was more libertarian utopia than most people want to give it credit.
Well, it wasn't really wild either.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers and the amount of murders per capita and stuff like that, it was much better than what it is now.
Yeah, and most of
people
it was
left themselves alone for the most part.
Right, most people left themselves alone. Most people took care of each other, and was just very restricted on private property rights out there.
Yeah,
and as long as you weren't hurting,
it was very successful.
Yeah, and as long as you weren't hurting anyone, everyone left you alone. And technically, they had private police force. People would pay for their sheriff. People would donate money for the sheriff.
There was actually a movie in the '80s called Cuffs with Christian Slater, it was about a private police force law being still on the books in San Francisco, and they still had private police forces in San Francisco.
Oh, and
he inherited one from his dad, so he had to come in and make it right. That was the plot of the story, basically. But it was a private police force. It was interesting to see that even mentioned in a movie, let alone back in the late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember when it came out. But just the whole idea was like, that's really weird. I never thought about that as a possibility. And why not? Why aren't you talking about that sort of thing?
Well, that's just see, that's why we should.
But
have
now you have to say there were some problems with private police forces in the Wild West too.
Right, people
they were corrupt.
Yeah, people did corrupt it, but this is just like more of like this shows you just like why things need to be tested and tested out and things move on. You know, that's all that is. You know, it just shows like, but when it comes down to it, like, and I'll try to get us back to the article, back on topic, but
I tend to stray.
No, it's okay. Like I said, it's technically not an official episode.
This isn't official.
This isn't official. I'm doing what I want. Spangle said do something. You should do something, so I'm doing something. Harry, so we said Toe, Boater, are us. Let's see, who are the guests? It's myself, and I've got Reinhold from the Discord server. Did I say that right? Toe Boater are us?
Toe Boater, Russ. RS, yeah.
RS. Yeah, RS, yeah. It's myself like that. If there's more people in the Discord that wants to pop in and talk, I'm fine, as long as you're not going to sit there and troll and make sure we stay out of conversation, that's fine too. Let's see. But yeah, but like from the massive bodies, and I'm going to say this one time and we're going to go back to the article, but the massive bodies that communism has left behind, and the simple aspect that a lot of people will talk about like looking at like, because I debate a lot of race realists on the internet. If I should stop. It's really pointless. But a lot of them always.
It's fun and it kills time.
Yeah, it's fun. It does kill time. A lot of people a lot of these race realists point to black IQ. It's the reason why Africa is the way it is.
Oh, jeez.
Oh
my God, these people.
Right. Yeah, and I goes like, all right. Even if that's the case, even if let's say I give you all that, I will give you all that information. That's like, and it won't attack that evidence. I won't. But what I want to add to it is that at the same breath you told me that, right? And the same thing I look at that supposedly Asians and whites are the highest IQ, but I can show you why the United States were having plentiful resources and having food and cars everywhere. Other side of the world, right? In Russia, China, Cambodia, was almost the freaking Dark Ages, and people were being buried into the ground because of a failed ideology. And that failed ideology, communism, socialism, that ilk, is also part inside and taking over lots of parts of Africa. So, boop, boop, boop. Their failed economic it's more of a failed economic problem that's mostly infected Africa. A lot of different places in Africa that do not have that failed economic policy, or if grants pushing it, it's actually a very nice place. You know,
and it's getting taken over by China too.
Right, China is bringing most of that mentality to the west coast bringing that stuff back. So like people like Somalia, it's probably going to be a different place in 20 years. Okay, it's going to be probably very Chinese.
Definitely will be, yeah.
It's going to be very Chinese, and no longer the libertarian paradise of pirates.
Libertarian paradise in Somalia, please. I get that joke all the time.
Yeah,
believe.
Such libertarian politics.
That's not libertarian over there.
No.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the same like Mad Max. It's like, wow, that there was like Mad Max, libertarian utopia. It's like, nope, there's way too many NAT violations for that to be a libertarian utopia. What, private property rights would solve Mad Max quickly. It'd be, it actually would be.
Well, it was the whole basis for the Enlightenment. You remember the Enlightenment age? That ended, unfortunately. All right, so the idea of the Enlightenment was people owned themselves. People were autonomous. They didn't have to belong to a king or belong to a feudal lord or whatever. And people want to bring that back, and have brought it back. It's like, why did you do this? We had it. Yeah. We were the reason why the French revolted was because of that idea we established, and people bought into it. And I look at France. It's like, why did you give it up so easily?
Well, France, Haiti. I used to have 5 countries memorized. I can't think of them right now. But there was 5.
Iceland used to be incredibly libertarian, and then they gave it all up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just, it is what it is, and it just shows you there's just all these different layers of different other things that most people just don't want to look at or give like any credit to.
Well, what's funny is you go back and read what Thomas Jefferson. I'm a big Thomas, so what he wrote, and he wrote some great things, and he predicted so much of this stuff. It's like, unless people continue to fight for their rights, they are going to lose them. They're going to be taken away from them because that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's
yeah.
And who was it? Who was it said? When they asked, what kind of a government do we have, and they said a republic if you can keep it.
Benjamin Franklin.
All right. It was Benjamin Franklin said that. Yeah. So it's like the same mentality. It's here, and it'll be great for you, but you have to fight to keep it. You can't just be, you can't sit on your back. You can't just wait and let government happen, because it's going to come over the top of you. And people get upset that we're fighting against government. Somebody wrote an article today about how unthinkable it is that the sitting president is going after the FBI. Wait a minute. Isn't that what got Kennedy killed? For going after the CIA?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're never to trust Democrats never have trusted the espionage community ever, intelligence community ever, until now, because they're saying things that they want to hear. And the only reason they're saying things they want to hear is because they've been told that it's what they want to hear, right? Romney was fighting against, was going against Obama, and Obama was pounding him, saying, Russia's not the same Russia. You need to quit treating them like the evil empire. Yeah, they're our friends now, all this stuff. And just because a bunch of people got infected into the Democratic Party and took over Hillary's ear because of what was going on over in the Baltic states and things like that, and that's what it's all from. It's all from us trying to push NATO into areas that are way too close to Russia. Russia's fighting back against that, and now they're the enemy again. Please.
Yeah. Magically.
Now they want us to go attack Russia. What? It's all about oil. It's not gas oil. It's heating oil. But it's all about heating oil and how Europe is going to be heated in the winter. That's what this is all about. And it's frustrating to sit and watch it and nobody catching up on this. And the supposed journalist, I went on a rant about this morning on Twitter. The supposed journalists aren't investigating these things, right? They're just trying to push an agenda. They're doing propaganda for the parties. Is all that the news media has become. The only really good person out there, journalist out there, in my mind right now, is Glenn Greenwald.
Pretty much.
He used to be a left darling until he started pointing out where the left was falling into this trap, and now they've pushed him out and made him a Russian apologist. What?
Yeah, he's a Russian
Nonsense
apologist. That's why Snowden's in Russia.
Geez.
That's all conspiracy.
I get attacked all the time. Oh, you're a Russian apologist. I'm like, no, I just don't hate them like you do. I don't understand your thought process. They spent $40,000 on ad buy or whatever. Big deal. How much money did the other people spend?
Right.
I mean, it's like everybody should have a right to say what they want to say. I don't see what the big deal is. If you don't like what they got to say, don't listen to it.
Right. Yeah, 40,000 on Facebook is crap.
Yeah, it's hardly anything, and it was supposed to be. I guess and what's funny because Russia Today is now labeled as a propaganda wing for Russia, when half of their shows are produced by the BBC.
Right. Yeah. They want to come out. You can almost feel like some of the left want to come out and treat Russia like it's an enemy, but when you really delve into Russia, it's like they're not really a political enemy. They're not a military threat to the United States. They're out of gas. They're out of gas. They can't do as much as people think they can do.
How long do you think Russia is going to take us trying to economically bankrupt them, which is what we've been doing for them?
Right. Yeah.
We've been trying to economically bankrupt them and drive them into the ground. If they were doing that to us, we would be all kinds of pissed off, and rightfully so. Why are we doing it to them? It makes no sense.
Well, you don't have any hard proof that they're doing that, but that is what they're doing.
Well, they have hard proof. Yeah, they've got sanctions against them right now. They're trying to jail most of their top bankers because they're trying to do business with Americans. It's crazy. This isn't hidden agenda stuff. This is stuff that's out in the open. Just nobody wants to look at it because it doesn't mesh with the way they think that they're going to attack the Republican Party. Democrats have decided this is how they attack the Republican Party. So anything that deviates from that is something they don't want to hear. I mean, Russia hacked the DNC and the DCCC. Really? Show me the proof.
Right.
They have yet to show any hard evidence. Somebody said, well, here's all the evidence right there. I said, look at it. It's all supposition. It's all people who don't know anything about hacking or the internet and how the internet works saying, well, the IP came from Russia. Oh, no. So hackers don't know how to obfuscate their IP address or use VPN tunnels and get around all of that. I mean, if these were good hackers, why were they doing? There was Russian writing in the code because hackers don't borrow, steal, and sell code. Right. Do you guys understand how this stuff works, really? Because you act like you don't, and any good hacker is laughing hysterically at all these charges.
Especially that one that did it. And that's the other thing. I don't even think it was like it's that high grade of a hack.
Well, yeah. The irritating thing is it's all coming from CrowdStrike, which if you look at the owner of CrowdStrike, he's an anti-Russian Ukrainian, right? He hates Russia. Well, of course he thinks Russia's doing. He had to retract his article. He had to actually amend the report because it was found out that he was saying that this was just like a hack that Russia did on Ukrainian weapon systems, and the Ukrainians came back, who he's supposedly trying to get pushed into this thing. They came back and said that never happened. Our weapon systems were never ever hacked, right? So he had to come back and say, okay, I'll take that out of the report. Well, what else have you got wrong? You're attributing all this stuff to Cozy Bear, and it's like, and you've identified it as being Russian. Well, why? What proof have you had? You have shown no proof of this other than, well, it's something that Russia would have done. It makes sense for that. So what about all the attacks they committed that had nothing to do with their political agenda? You're just ignoring those.
Yep.
If you look into it, like a good journalist should be doing, who had any knowledge, there's got to be journalists out there who have some knowledge about how hacking and the internet works. And actually look into this. It's all smoke and mirrors. There's nothing there.
No, none of them know how the internet works. None of them do. And when you get
especially none of the senators.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Especially none of the senators. Especially none of the reporters. Like watching people talk about net neutrality, I just want to you know what, quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. Or like I think even Nice was even talking about in the Discord chat. It's like, why does everyone keep talking about the internet providers? Keep bringing up Comcast. Why is no one talking about level 3? Okay.
They don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you really knew how the internet works, you would be amazed every day that you don't have outages. Everything works flawlessly because it's a cobbled together junk at the base level. If you look at it, and I know tech guys. I used to be. I have Cisco certifications. I know how those routers are configured and how they work, and the fact that they work is amazing to me. Just that it doesn't go down all the time.
It's magic, man.
Right?
It's magic.
Every once in a while, you have an outage, or the East Coast is out because of this and that, and we're getting hacked. No, it's just somebody wrote a piece of code into a config file and implemented it, and it screwed everything up. So now they're trying to back it out. That's what's happening.
Yep, pretty much.
Or a specific router went down because they didn't have fault tolerance set up right, and now it's causing some outages. How that doesn't happen more often, I have no idea.
The internet is like pipes, lead pipes, very awful lead pipes, giving lead poisoning to the masses.
And then somebody came to me and said something. Well, I think it was even Richard Spector who might have said this. It was funny because they were saying that the internet is utility. They use government pipe or government equipment and all sorts of stuff. I said, no, they don't. None of the stuff on the internet is owned by the government or run by the government or anything the government. Where are you getting that out? It's a stupid net neutrality junk.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down on a rant on that, but
it's
like that's not how this works. And so many people have grown up with the internet as just being part of their daily lives. I grew up when it was not, when it was terribly horrible to even work with because it was all just kind of coming together on its own. And it all came together on its own. That's the greatest thing about it, is that it wasn't something that was planned out and pushed through a committee and decided upon, and everybody agreed to this. No, that's not how it worked. Everybody's doing their own thing, and it got all decided it mutually benefited everybody to make this work, and that's how it happened. It's the greatest example of what libertarianism can be is what the internet is, and now the government wants to come in and take credit for it.
Great, and that's what's probably end up going to happen. It almost seems like a chess game of net neutrality, to get the internet to be regulated like a utility. Like you can see the chess move. It's the chess move that's happening. We're going to remove the net neutrality rules. We're going to get people talking about it, and people like concerned about the internet again. Then after this move, we're going to bring an antitrust suit against the ISPs and force them into like a public utility bill. That's what they're going to do.
Well, the ISPs are when I was started on the internet, you had a million ISPs, right? Because everybody dialed. You dialed up over regular phone lines everybody had, because that's the way it was.
Yep.
So everybody had phone lines, and you could dial to wherever, and you could. So you could do that. So if you didn't like your ISP, you just quit and join another ISP. You had bunches of options. What are your options now? Right? Local governments are blocking down on your choices to the point you're stuck using this utility, and because of that, now they want it regulated like a utility, because they forced themselves to be stuck in a situation where they have no choice, and they think this is the only way they can make it work right. Just open up the choices.
Yep.
And it all fixes itself.
They don't want to open up choices.
Because Comcast and those guys are going to have to do a better job, and they can't. And they never succeed doing it.
Correct. They don't want to have competition. It's easier for them just to pay off small governments so they don't allow it, or just have like pseudo OPEC meetings of not competing with each other.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, and there's the only places that there is any competition when it comes to ISPs is the rural areas. It's the only place, because
I got lucky. I got hugely lucky. Where I live at, the local internet is provided by a co-op. Right? So the phone system was actually a co-op out here. Nice. Because I live in western Indiana. And we didn't have, you don't have a lot of choices, but you owned, anybody who's a member who gets service is actually an owner. So if they don't like what's going on, they go to the board meeting and they get it changed. Or they run for office and become a board member. You have a lot of control at that point, and it doesn't require guns. It doesn't require all the stuff, all legal stuff is backed by that. But, if I have an issue with my internet, I had an issue a couple of weeks ago as I was trying to use my streaming to get to a site, BBC America or FX, I remember which one, and I wasn't able to get there, right? Because they had to do something on their end to make the configuration happen. I called up. I said, hey, there's a situation. He said they'd look into it. 2 days later, I had access. It was taken care of. Because they listened to me, because they know that I could go down and get them all. That's how it works. Yep. That's the only way it'll work like that. If you have no competition, that's the only way it'll ever work.
And that's the thing. Like,
government ain't going to do that. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to call up the government and say, hey, I'm not getting what I need. They're going to, these guys are paying me money. You're not.
Yeah, and that co-op idea, that idea is what's like will bring internet choices to like different areas. Like, well, who's going to pay to bring all the to have an ISP in this area? Well, if the regulations were there, it'd be easier, because if you look at all the dark fiber optic cable that runs through the Midwest, especially Indiana, that's not being used or utilized because no ISP wants to put anything there. But if more people would do that type of model to be able to tap into that fiber optic connection to get access to the net, and then freeing up some of the radio signals, allowing other people to connect to it, it's a beautiful time, especially with the new.
I had a guy who worked for me years and years ago when I was a man. He had left the company. He decided to start his own, because he lived in Mooresville or somewhere, and they didn't have good internet cable connection. So he started his own internet company and was providing point-to-point wireless for everybody. Right? So he's got pictures of himself on Facebook climbing up towers, putting up these points, and that's what he does. And he provides a service. He provides internet connectivity for a lot of people. Just because one day he decided to do it. Now, he had to go through a bunch of regulations and laws and fight a bunch of the competition, but he was also hitting areas where really didn't have any choice or any options other than like DirecTV, which is kind of a horrible idea if you're going to do any kind of real-time stuff on the internet. If you're just streaming down a movie, it's fine. But if you're wanting to play a game, the latency's horrible.
Right. Yeah. Or use VoIP or anything. Yeah.
So he's providing this great service, right? And that's how you do it. People just get out and make it happen on their own. But we need to make it easier for them to do that, not harder.
Right.
And what they're trying to do now is making it harder.
Yep. And that's
that's the whole thing that this guy at the FCC, the Ajit, that everybody's upset about. That's what he's trying to do, is make it easier for people to do that exact thing. And so many people don't even understand what they're talking about when they get into this, that they don't get it. Yep. And they're all being propagandized by John Oliver. They all point to John Oliver as the hero of this stuff. And it's all, if you watch his show, I cannot stand to watch the show because it's nothing but propaganda. And I don't see how people can't see that, how people can't view that, what he does, and say, I'm being fed a line right here. I'm being fed bullshit. Right? How can he not see that?
Yeah,
where are their critical thought processes going?
Most people don't have critical thinking. Okay. I've learned that.
I know. I didn't learn, technically I didn't have a critical thought class till I was in college, which was amazing to me. Why aren't they teaching this stuff as a first in school? They talk about all the things you should be teaching people in schools, right? The first thing you should be teaching people in school is how to think. Yep. Not facts, dates, figures, that sort of thing. Teach them how to think about things, how to critically analyze what they're being told, how to understand and process that information in a way that makes sense to them. And they're not doing that.
Oh, come on.
Because if you lay that groundwork, it doesn't matter what else you teach them from that point forward. They'll understand it and learn it because they have the tools to do that. Now they don't. Now they're just going blind and everything, and they're not learning this stuff until they're in their 20s or 30s. Some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
Some of them are just going along with whatever they're being told.
Yeah. Well, some people, just like in the here in the Twitch chat, some people just don't care. The other thing is, it's also hard to quantify critical thinking onto a lot of different tests. To also just show government that you're show people that you're getting your money's worth into the school. So if I had like a bunch of critical thinking tests out there, it's really kind of hard for me to like grade those and show them. But people like having the math, the history stuff. And the other thing with it is they don't want one. They don't. It's almost like that buys in that conspiracy theory that they don't want people thinking critically, especially in high school.
Well, it's a government-controlled entity. Why would they want you?
Yeah, they don't want you questioning.
I mean, you could say that's a conspiracy and all that stuff, but
and if you're thinking critically,
tracks.
The other thing is your critical thinking. Yeah, critical thinking in a high school environment will also make you start questioning the whole different process of everything, the whole the aspect of a public school system, anyways, or the way the school system is set up, anyways. It doesn't make any sense,
right? And the parents want their kids thinking what they think blindly. Too. Right. I mean, how many parents teach their kids? I mean, my parents, I'm lucky. My parents taught me critical thought from day one. They're like, if you don't have to agree with what I have to say, think about it, and say, hey, why did you think this, or why did you do this, and make me think about those things, as opposed to this is the way we do things, and you will do it this way, and blah blah blah. Right? Yeah. My dad was real big on, you have a car. I'm not fixing your car for you. You will fix it. I will show you. I will tell you how to do it. I will work with you on getting it done, but you're going to be the one to do it because you're going to learn how this stuff works, and you're going to be the one to do this stuff going forward. And he did that with thinking too. Yeah,
which I can tell you right now, like knowing how to work on a car, around most millennials, they have no idea. Like I've been on so many rides with people, their car break down, and I pop their hood and like, okay, this is what's wrong with this thing, and get the car going again. So they're like, no, we're just going to sit here and wait for AAA. I'm like, F that, it's hot. Let me get this going,
No, I could not stand. I still to this day, when I want to work on my house or do something, my wife's like, well, we'll get my brother over and help. I want to be able to do it myself. I want the satisfaction of that. I want to be able to say, I did that. Yeah. Right. Even though it's overwhelming and I don't have the time, it's still that mindset in me, so it's kind of gotten me in trouble a little bit, but it's still kind of where I'm at, where I don't want to pay somebody to do something that I can do myself. Why would I pay somebody to do something I can do myself?
Yeah, and the most fun I've ever had was like toying around and tinkering on like a $400 car with a blown motor. Just taking it apart, putting it back together, trying to get it to go. Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, you used to be able to work on your cars. Yeah. Nowadays, it's like,
you can work on older cars.
Your computer system's gone out. Oh, yeah.
Work on older cars, and it's getting progressively harder to find good working cars, older cars, because of the Catch Your Clunkers program. You know.
Yeah, I still watch the shows. I've actually I got my TV on in the background. I always have it on mute, and it's always on the Velocity channel. I'm sitting there watching them rebuild all these old cars.
See, I'm mad at
Most
Velocity
fun
Channel.
thing
I'm
ever.
so mad at Velocity Channel. They have
Why?
ruined so many good car shows on there. Now, All Girls Garage, Boogie's my girl, TV waifu. She's 3D waifu. Boogie, I love Boogie's Garage.
I like that. Well, Graveyard Cars is on. Graveyard is good, but you got to be able to take Mormon the right way. He's a little bit of a dickhead.
I think I'm more hated of what happened to Wheeler Dealers. I loved Ed China. Ed China's different, and his. Oh man, I don't know if you get on Ed China's YouTube channel and watch him just his autistic car autism on doing a brake job.
They don't show the stuff anymore is the problem, right? So the shows are more about, hey, we made this deal and we got this working and we did this over here and money we made. Like, yeah, show me you working on the car. Show me you running into the problem and fixing it. And I think it was Gas Monkeys is the one that turned it around, right? So it went from being, these car shows end up being from working on cars and what we got to do to make them work to the drama and everything else behind it. And it's like, oh, you're ruining it, man. Yep. That's where you're falling apart. Go back to showing. It was the same with restoration. You see these people doing the house flipping and everything, and you hardly see any of the actual stuff being done. They'd have the contractors do it. They would just come in and say, oh, what have you done? But it used to be, there was this, Mike Holmes.
Yes, Mike Holmes. Yes,
Holmes on Holmes. That show, because he would say, "Here's how it's done. Here's how it's supposed to be done, right? And here's why." Right, and you would learn something from that. You'd be able to say, "Okay, when I'm working on my house now, I remember I need to do this because if I don't, this is what'll happen." And he's taught me that. And you don't have that anymore. You don't. It's all the drama.
It helped me work on my house. Helped me buy my house. Basically, like I just went to different houses.
He does the inspections,
right? The house inspection part. When I was when I wanted watching, he was going well, check your attic. You probably don't want to go in your attic or your crawl space because it's nasty, but you're buying it. Get down there. If you if you don't want to get in there, then don't buy that house. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, or pay somebody reputable to investigate it for you.
And he's got a point. So going up in my attic and and walking around with the guy that did the house inspection on our house, it was very eye opening. What's one is part of my house, and going everything and there's one part of the house I knew I had fixed because of one quick rhyme that Holmes always said: where warm meets cold equals mold. Okay, and that's how the sunroom was set. The sunroom was not insulated correctly, and I knew this was an issue, so we went to go fix it because I remember the first time I got cold in there, and you just watch mold just start growing. Okay, yep, let me go fix this. I gotta fix this now. Yeah, but those are just different things like that, and it's most people just aren't shown that, especially in school. I remember, I think I'm one of the last people through IPS that actually had shop class.
I remember shop class. Oh
yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore. You can't have shop classes. They used to be able to donate your car to a high school, and they would tear it apart and fix it as part of their shop class.
Yeah, Tech used to do that all the time. Yeah, Arsenal Technical High School and Indianapolis, they used to do that. You just people would bring cars, and they were just fixed community cars. People would bring their cars in and get it fixed and worked on. It's I remember sitting there in because it was the teacher who ran the the computer networking class in my high school. Well, he's also an electrician. He did the shop class, the small engines class. He did the welding and did everything. And he was showing me he forced me to learn how to lay brick, work a backhoe, work on small engine machines. It had me do all this different stuff, and would go back and work on computers. And I remember one time I asked him, I was why did you make me do all this when I just want to work on computers all day? And it's I did, well, let's say that you you wanted to stop, or you just want to do this on your own, or you wanted to pay someone to build you something. You know how much work it is. You know how what work goes into it and what it's supposed to look right.
And in the chat, you got Dragel who says, you take a car into a car shop and you're going to get scanned because if you don't know enough about the car to question what they're doing or why they're doing it, or ask to go see it and make sure that it's this way or that way, they're going to scam you. You need that knowledge in order to trust them because you need to be able to watch what they're doing.
Yep.
But I into computers in a weird path because I went in the Navy as a nuclear reactor operator, right? And then I came out and I couldn't find a job as a nuclear operator in Indiana because they'd shut down Marble Hill, and that's where I was going to go. And I can't do that now. So what am I going to do? So I tried doing electronic technicians for a while. Ended up going to Manpower and just doing data entry because I was typing, 14,000 keywords a minute, right? So 14,000 keystrokes a minute, and I was getting jobs just like that, left and right. Oh, wow. And then once I had a contract with RCA and was looking for something else to do, they came back and said, hey, we got this guy who works, he rebuilds fan clutches for trucks. He says, you don't have to know what you're doing. He'll come in and show you. I said, all right, I'll go in there and go help him out, right? So they just brought in an attempt to help out. I ended up becoming one of their best employees, and I worked there for 5 years, rebuilding fan clutches. I upgraded their inventory system and how they were doing it, the processes, and I learned a lot doing that job. Just how mechanical things work, how inventory control systems work, how all this stuff works. And I transformed that shop into something really strong and powerful because they would get a fan clutch in that needed rebuilt on these semis, which is it's a big deal because what happens is if the fan clutch is what spins the big blades, it would break the post that's in there that spins on, right? It would break off. And then the fan would just start flopping around, go in the radiator, and cause them to bust down. So it was a big deal. People would bring in their fan clutches to have rebuilt. They didn't have to wait for it to be rebuilt and we give it back to them. Well, I'm like, well, we know what the most popular ones are. Let's just build some up ahead of time, have them ready to go. Somebody comes in with one, we just give them one, right? So we started doing that processes. We started making things better, and it was learning that stuff. And electricity, I learned a lot of electricity, electronics. I learned a lot about plumbing. My cousin was a plumber, so I learned all this stuff helping build a house that we were building when I was a kid. My parents built a new house. So I learned all this stuff, and it's amazing how often I translate that stuff over into computers. I'll be talking to somebody about data paths and how the data goes from one point to another, and I'll tell them it's like plumbing or electricity. Find where the break is, right? Because it's going to flow one way. It flows this way, so where is it breaking down at? If you think of it like that, it becomes a lot easier to pinpoint what the problem is, where you're not looking in the wrong place for 2 days trying to figure out the problem is. You're looking at where the actual problem is. Basic troubleshooting comes out of that stuff.
Yep. Well, just like plumbing, like you've got to make sure you have enough air going over different air. But that's why I hate dealing with plumbing. I almost drowned in my basement because I didn't know enough about plumbing. Long story short. There was when I got to I noticed a small leak in my basement. So I took the ceiling apart and saw the pipe was busted. It's coming off there. So I was like, okay, it's a drain pipe. Okay, I'm up this high from the main drain. So if I remove this pipe, it's fine, right? Put a bucket down, remove the pipe. Water just started shooting out of there in my face, just drowning me, just massive amounts of water just shooting out of this drain pipe. What I didn't know is that when the person put the new place in for the sink, it doesn't hook up directly to the main drain. It first hits a pipe that hits with the sump pump. So the sump pump is pressurized, sucking water out of the sump pump. So when I
pumping all that stuff into your face,
correct. So when I gave another path for all that water to go, because of pressure, then what? So it hit me in the face, hit the ground, go into the drain of the ground, go back in the sump pump, and go right back up at me. It was an endless circle, just drowning in portals. All right, so back on topic. I think we the main thing about the one article from
we got from Me Too to there. I don't know how.
I don't know. The main thing I want to do is looking at the case of Travis Smiley. Basically, he is held.
Oh yeah.
Because he is ragged on it's one of the true cases of showing that there is no right now. There's no defense against the Me Too movement. He doesn't even know who his allegations are, who they're from. Before he even had his meeting, they already knew they were going to get rid of him.
Well, this is another internal attack, though, because
Correct.
he was against a lot of the Obama stuff, right?
One of the few
he
critics.
Was supposed to play ball. Yeah, he was supposed to, right? Because the race thing, and he didn't. And I think they're coming after him for that stuff now.
Right. Now they finally can, and they're like, okay, it's like we can get him now. Launch the attack. Launch the McNute. you know. All right, so that's what that is. All right, the other article I wanted to bring up, which I saw, I forget where I found this. Let me open up the show now and see if I wrote a note. This must have. All right, was from Business Insider, talking about, I love the news when they start talking about freaking uranium in radioactive material. Because a lot of, I am not a nuclear scientist. When I did go to school, I am a science major, but more of in IT, electronics.
Well, and this is where I can come in because I did study nuclear power when I was in the Navy. And it was a very
which is good, because which is really cool material. Yeah, and it's a very uranium is a very, very weird rock. And when you get in, and like I said, it's only people that can really either if it's interesting. There's one time I got into an argument. I was very drunk at a wall party, and I was getting an argument with Greg about how yes, about uranium and how you can go out and get some, and bring it home, and do all this different stuff to it. And I kept telling me, no, you can't. Da 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 da. And I'm like, it's just a rock. Uranium's just a rock.
My wife's talked to me about maybe trying to do a nuclear reactor here, so electricity costs. I'm like, it's not. No, you don't even understand. It's not already. So you can go find uranium, but in order to get uranium isotope, that's actually the radioactive part. You have to mine through. You have to process it's like tons of uranium to get this small, tiny little bit out. That's actually usable for fissionable material.
Well, if you want to get it pure to be able to do anything with it.
And that's why Iran's having so much trouble. They're trying to find a way to process the uranium in order to get enough fissionable to run. Right, and that's where Stuxnet and all that stuff came into play.
Right.
But it's not like you can just go dig up some uranium and you're good to go.
Correct.
Because that uranium is mostly stable. It's not radioactive. It's not going to harm you. It's not going to do anything.
Well, because it's so low. It doesn't. What is it? I think
because it's the stable uranium so the stable uranium is uranium-230. Uranium-238 is the isotope that is that close to being fissionable. So what it is it's sitting there ready for an electron. As soon as it gets a neutron, as soon as it gets what it needs to start the fission to break apart, and then create the stuff to cause a chain reaction to the other fissionable material
to U-235. Right? So but you don't. Yeah, but that's not what you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, 235 is pretty stable. 238 is the isotope.
No, 238 is
or is it
238 is the stable
one. Okay, so 235 is the isotope.
The isotope.
Got that backwards.
Yeah, in that slow chain reaction that gets you that, But you can use and trick but what they use, you can use if you get enough 238, and you can use it to kind of trick it to doing to be U-235.
Yeah, you have to process it.
Yes, yeah. And that's when you get, and if you did it at the house, that's how you get into trouble for making
Oh yeah,
because you're refining.
It's not like they don't track this stuff.
Oh yeah. Could I go out there in the middle of the Midwest and pick up not Midwest, but the Southwest, pick up uranium rock and come back to Indiana with it? Yes, you can, and apparently you can even get on an airplane with it.
Yeah, it's not radioactive. Nobody will be able to detect it. It's just rock.
But TSA will grab it because apparently it will set off alarms, which is awesome. I think I may just do it just to troll. Go pick up a rock and just walk around with it.
I didn't know what it was. I just saw it was a pretty rock.
It's a pretty rock. They're not pretty rocks, though. They're very ugly rocks. They're very ugly rocks. But anyways, back to the article. We're not spinning off this time. We're not spinning off. This time we're going to go through this article. Because I really like this article because usually when I was going through that background before we went off on the tangent, was that usually when articles bring up radioactive material or different alternative fuels to fossil or wind and electric, they like to demonize nuclear power, or just get a lot of different facts wrong, or something things are just wrong and messed up. This article is actually a very fair take. I still don't really, I don't like me. I don't. Well, we'll get in the article, and when we get to the point, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. All right. So the lifeblood of modern civilization is affordable, free-flowing energy. It gives us the power to heat our homes, grow and refrigerate food, purify water, and manufacture products. Perform organ transplants, drive a car, go to work, or procrastinate from work by reading a story about the future of energy. Let's see if I can make
Get a
that
10.
larger. Yeah. All right. Today's cheap, bountiful supplies make it hard to see humanity's looming energy crisis, but it's possible coming within our lifetime. Our numbers will grow from 7.36 billion people to 9 billion in 2040, as an increase of 22%. Rapidly developing nations, however, will supercharge global energy consumption at more than twice the rate. And especially with a lot of people who are moving to wanting to start using electrical cars, especially the electrical truck, which I think the idea of an electric truck is a better idea than an electric car right now, because it's easy to put the infrastructure in to charge electric cars, because they're going from one spot to another spot. They're going point A to point B. And not a C, not a D, not an E, not an F in someone else's house. It's going, from dock to dock to dock to dock. So it would work for company-owned cars. But I figured if you're owner-operator, it won't do you any good. Sorry. I'm sure there's probably truck drivers who listen to it like, yeah, what about me? I own my own truck. Well, sorry, you're going to get screwed at this. You're going to get screwed.
Well, they'll have to pay a rate.
Yeah, they pay a rate, or like some companies.
At the dock.
Yeah, some companies may be like, yes, you can charge. Yeah, just charge your truck here. Or that might be part of your contract that you can just leave your electric truck there to charge, which might even be beneficial because now you don't have to park your big rig at your house.
Or you have to pay gas right now. You have to stop at gas stations, go through that.
Yeah,
tax exempt, and you have to go.
So like with that,
so much.
So that incoming with a lot of electrical cars, which I'm not too keen. Like everyone's like, okay, I'm going to get this out there. My thing about Tesla and Tesla cars is that I really feel like they're the Apple of the car world. They don't make it. They don't make it easy to work on their cars, to salvage their cars. That's why there's so many freaking Teslas in the junkyard, and most people pull them out are the complete DIY or dyers, because Tesla does not help them out trying to get their cars on the road. They don't even see them as legitimate Tesla owners, so they won't even. A lot of shops won't even work on their stuff. But there. Moving on. All right. Fossil fuels could quench the planet's deep thirst for energy, but they'd be temporary fix at best. Known reserves may dry up within a century or two. Notice that they don't have because peak oil is nonsense. Because they're realizing that fossil fuels is not really true when it comes to basically crude oil. It's not made from fossils. That's not what it is. Anyway, moving on, I'll get into that subject later. And burning up the carbon-based fuel will accelerate climate change, which is already on track to jeopardize countless lives. So yeah, it's all these different aspects going into it. And a lot of electric cars in the Midwest, well, we use coal out here, and we use clean coal, so it's not as bad. Still pretty bad, though. Anyways, moving on. Back to the article. Meanwhile, renewable energy sources like wind and solar, which this is more hairy, don't work, unreliable, because if the overcast day and the wind's not blowing and your server goes offline because, because you love green energy, you'll understand. The key parts of the solution are not silver bullets, especially if the world is to meet a 2050 deadline set by the Paris Agreement. I'm glad we're out of that. Energy from fusion is promising, but it's not yet proved to work, let alone on a commercial competitive scale. Nuclear reactors on the hand fit the bill. They're dense, reliable, emit no carbon, and contrary to bitter popular sentiment, are among the safest energy sources on Earth. Today, they supply about 20% of America's energy through the 2040s. Through 2040s. The share drops to 10% as companies shut down decades-old reactors, according to the July 26th report released by the Idaho National Laboratory. Yes, nuclear energy is incredibly safe, and they're using these very old, out-of-date nuclear reactors because they really... I can't remember when was the last nuclear reactor was built here in the United States, and it's using very old, outdated technology. And from people who are being scared, they even show a photo in the article of a nuclear reactor, and someone's got this super old Polaroid camera in the back. I don't think that's not even Polaroid; it's just a regular old camera in the back. And let's see, and they're talking about through the it's a Manhattan Project thing for the molten. Anyways, so moving on to a thing called called a molten salt reactor. The technology was conceived during the Cold War and forego solid nuclear fuel for liquid one, which it can burn far greater efficiency than any power technology in existence. I don't know. Burns in quotations. It's I think they just use it. They burn and just burn. So they're not really burning the stuff because you it's a rock. Well, it does burn too. Anyways, moving on. It also generates a small fraction of the radioactive waste compared to today's commercial reactors, which also rely on solid fuel. And in theory, molten salt reactors can never melt down. It's reliable, it's clean, it basically does everything fossil fuel does today. Kirk Swartzen, the chief technology officer of nuclear energy startup Flibe Energy, told Business Insider. Swartzen, while speaking during an episode of Business Insider's podcast, Codebreakers, which is produced with the National Public Radio Marketplace. And it does a whole bunch of things it doesn't do today, like make energy without emitting carbon. What's more, feeding a molten salt reactor a radioactive waste from mining called thorium, which is 3 to 4 more times abundant than uranium is. The reason why it's more abundant because, like, uranium is unstable, and uranium likes to breaks down into other things. That's how you start at uranium, and what is it? Uranium, radium, thorium. Like I said, I'm not a science chemist major. It's like I said, it almost does like alchemy and breaks down to other things. Reinhold, you there? I don't know. Oh,
I'm here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was letting you talk.
Okay.
I'm going to let you get through the article, and then I was going to point out.
Go into it. All right. I just want to say, because I was trying to, all right. Just want to make sure you're there. What's more, feeding a molten salt reactor, and it can breed as much nuclear fuel as it burns up. Manhattan Project scientist Alvin Weinberg calculated in 1959 that if we could somehow harvest all the thorium in the Earth's crust and use it this way, we could power civilization for tens of billions of years. Technology is viable. The scientist has been demonstrated. Hans Kruger, a nuclear engineer at INL, demonstrated because government scientists built 2 complementary prototypes during the 1950s and 60s. They weren't good for making nuclear weapons, though among other reasons, so bureaucrats pulled funding for the revolutionary energy technology. The last working molten salt reactor shut down in 1969. Today, entrepreneurs such as Swartzen are working tirelessly to revive and modernize the technology. So, our foreign governments, including India, China, now spends more than $350 million a year developing its variation of the Cold War era design. I don't like that. I'll pick apart that later. I'll wait. The story of how we got here is neither short nor simple, but it explains why Swartzen and others are betting on big humanity is coming for the thorium age. This article does
things.
What's up?
Well, I mean, and they mentioned fission.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about that. As you said before, solar and wind are not the panaceas of being a solution because of, and it's not so much that the sun doesn't always shine and that you don't have, because you can't store the energy efficiently. We don't have the battery technology. That's the big problem with those types of technologies, right? So we don't have the really good battery abilities right now. So those are hard to do. So we end up with doing the burnable coals, shales, gas, that sort of thing, oil, or we use nuclear. Now, nuclear has always been a very, very safe technology. The scare tactic and why we don't have it now is directly related back to Jane Fonda. And I can show you that. I can show you the work on that if you want to see it. But basically, 3 Mile Island happened to melt down. The movie she was in that was completely and totally stupid came out and scared everybody. Right. So this idea that we're going to have a meltdown and it's going to core through the core of the earth and it's going to cause it's not that. Okay. So, and even people are scared about Fukushima. Fukushima's pumping out some radioactive material into the water. Hey, it's like taking a drop and putting into Lake Michigan and expecting that drop to do something. It's not going to do. The oceans are so massive. It's not doing anything negatively to the fish and all that stuff. Everybody's freaking out about it. It's not happening. So
the water's already radioactive.
There's already it's not
everything is radioactive.
It's all stupid. There's so much radio. You walk out of the house and you're getting radioactive. You can't live without radioactivity in your life.
Yep.
right? You can't survive. The vitamin D, it's basically radioactive energy from the sun, right? So it's what people need to survive. We grew up as a species. The whole life on this planet requires that. So quit freaking out about that stuff. So yeah, there are some problems with nuclear reactors, and what they did in Chernobyl was horrendous, mainly because they designed it so horribly bad. Mm-hmm. And not only that, it's not only that the technology that they implemented in Chernobyl was bad, it was that as they were doing this test, the test was throwing off all the alarms. And the people running the plant told the people to turn off the alarms so they could finish the test. They were being told over and over again there's a problem, and they didn't stop the problem. Right. So it's kind of their own fault on that. Right. And the technology the United States was using was much more self-contained, where you couldn't override a lot of that stuff. It would have fail-safed, is what it's called. It was scrammed the reactor. It would have fail-safed everything. So getting into all that. So yeah, since the 80s, when the last time we built nuclear power plants, because like I said, I was going to come back and work at Marble Hill in Indiana. Marble Hill shut down. It was one of the last ones who were being made at the time. It got shut down, and there was none since then. Since then, the technology has improved so much to where there's almost no waste at all. There's no danger at all. The thorium processing you're talking about, the plants, very safe technology. It's very wonderful. I'm glad that people are still working on this stuff, because you get a fear that they weren't, right? Since nobody's allowing any more to be built, so why keep pumping, study into it? But people are doing it. It's great. So now we have these awesome opportunities. And the funny thing is that there's a lot of people in the environmental community that are going, hey, we need to be, if we want to really get off of all these, harmful emissions and using coal and all this other stuff that we're doing right now, we need to go to nuclear. And they're getting pushed out of the movement as traitors. It's like, what are you doing? These people are giving you the answer. We've had the answer for decades, and no one wants to embrace it because they were scared because of a movie.
Oh, man. So I have to put that also on the wall movie night.
Oh, my God. That movie was so bad. And it was the timing of it, too. It came out just as 3 Mile Island happened. And even Jimmy Carter was there at 3 Mile Island going, it's safe. I'm here. Because he was in the nuclear power program in the Navy, too. He understood what I'm saying to you. As what was going on there was not that big of a deal. They had a partial meltdown, and it's contained, and nobody's getting hurt, and it's... I mean, yeah, there's always catastrophic things that can happen, but that's with anything, right? I mean, look how much damage is being done when we're pumping oil to the United States, and you have leaks and things like that in the pipelines, or you're driving a truck with the gas with oil on it, and it wrecks, and then you got oil spills everywhere, and the damage that does. There's all kinds of stuff that we do all the time that's more damaging than anything nuclear power is going to do. Well, it's just that people equate the nuclear power plant with an atomic bomb, and oh my God, it's going to blow up, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think of that, or they think of like this weird. Sorry, Lacey, I got distracted. Lacey's my wife just walked in. Where was I? Yeah, that's the thing with nuclear power. They're always worried about these spills, but like crude oil is. As long as it's unrefined crude oil from the ground, like if it hits the ground, you can just pick it right back up. It doesn't do anything. It's when we refine it that it actually does damaging to the ground. But the same thing when it comes to nuclear power. Like when people are mostly worried about the waste, what are we going to do about the waste? Well, the thing is, it just breaks itself down. Uranium, like spent uranium rods and stuff like that, they turn into something else. You just have to sit there and wait. Are people?
They just wait a long time.
Yeah, but that
thousands of years.
But so what? It can basically go back to where you found it in the ground. It was pulled out of the ground, and you put it back in the ground until
we've got it all stored in a huge, deep bunker somewhere in the West, and nobody bugs about it. It's not. It's not getting it into the crops and the water table and all that stuff. They take that. It's not.
Right.
And it's not. There's not that much waste. You run one of these nuclear power plants for 30 years before you have to refuel it.
Yep.
If you have to take that spent uranium out and put new in.
Correct.
That's such a long time.
Yep. I think they're just dropping rods every day, like, oh, new rod, new rod, new rod. And the other thing with it, it's if you're worried about nuclear waste, what about the other waste? There's other waste in your day that you make that is 10 times worse. Well,
there's other waste in the other energies we have.
Yeah. Well, just like I'm just talking about just having phone.
Where does the electricity? You don't just generate electricity without causing the same harmful effects that you do when you burn gas. You're still burning something to create that energy.
Yeah.
You're still doing something to create the electricity. It's not clean. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about electricity being clean energy. It is not. It is more dirty than the other stuff. So kids have a carbon footprint. Everybody talks about this carbon footprint that things have, right? So you can take a new car built the last 5 years, and you can take a dog. The dog has a bigger carbon footprint than that car does. Mm-hmm. The majority of emissions that people are complaining about aren't coming from cars; they're coming from lawnmowers. For God's sake, right?
Yep.
So,
crappy 2-cycle, unmaintained lawnmowers.
Yeah, it's people have just demonized things without understanding things.
Yep.
Right? They don't want to take. They're not smart enough to take the time, because it does take a lot to learn. I'm sorry, it's not something you can learn just overnight. I studied for years, right? And I was in a very accelerated course. Let's put it that way. 2/3 of the people who entered, you had to be in the top 1% of the ASVAB scores or whatever to even get into this program. And 2/3 of the people who were in the program didn't make it through. Right? So it's not an easy thing to pass through. Yeah, I was lucky enough to do so. So it's not something that your average person is just going to be able to pick up and learn. But you need people to come out and say, hey, I understand this, I'm going to explain it, and here's a way to explain it in a way that it makes sense to them. And there's not enough of that going around. People are scared of propaganda. Mm-hmm. Propaganda is scaring people away from doing the things that they should be doing in order to make their lives easier.
Yep. Yeah, it's a crazy idea that people are running into electric or for electricity, thinking about wanting to use solar or wind power. That is insane and such backwards technology when we've got such better solutions.
The thing is I have no problem at all with wind and solar. I think those are great ideas. Eventually,
I think solar power.
We're not there yet.
Solar will work in outer space.
I think the solar collectors in orbit sending electricity back to Earth. Great idea. I think that's going to be the way we end up going eventually.
Or the moon.
That makes the most sense.
The moon.
Yeah. You can. All you have to do is send it back wirelessly. And we know Tesla's already taught us how to do that.
Yep. Just
better be scared of that because you're pumping energy through the air.
That's the other thing is I always had the rumor that the main reason why they collect a lot of Tesla's material and whole this free electricity when he's out there. I was like, what if he found uranium and was experimenting with it?
The problem with Tesla is that he has created this
cult
mystique.
Yeah.
It's a mystique around it, right? So it's just like a little mystery and stuff like that. Tesla was a great guy. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. The guy was a genius, but he also ended up kind of a little bit of a nutbag at the end. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do because that's how those types of minds kind of go.
Yeah.
Right.
And he died under a DC powered light bulb.
Well, I had somebody telling me that he all his idea for AC was stolen. It was it wasn't stolen. He gave it to Westinghouse.
Yeah. Because
Westinghouse was saying, I don't know if we can make this work. And he says, I will hand over you the rights to everything if you just implement it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And he did. He signed over the rights to it to Westinghouse to make it happen. And Westinghouse made it happen and fought against Edison because Tesla couldn't. Tesla could not do that at the time because Edison was way too powerful and was running a big smear campaign against him. So Westinghouse was able to take him on and make that happen. Right. And the technologies make sense. DC works great for internal stuff, for your powering your phones, for powering your electronics equipment. Mm-hmm. AC is great for moving an energy over long distances. If you tried to do DC that way, you'd have to have a substation every half a mile or every mile or something like that to get the energy to maintain itself. And there's no way we're going to put stuff like that. That's why AC works so great because it transmits the energy over long distances efficiently. So both things worked for the right reasons, and that's how we got where we are today. Not because, anything like that. But Tesla was working on some very interesting things. He was wanting to power neighborhoods and cities with wireless energy. Yep. And it actually could work. And it's a wonderful thought process, but it's going to scare the bejeebies out of people to where you walk out in your field, with a light bulb in your hand and it's glowing because the electricity in the air is causing it to run. Oh, what's that doing? I mean, people are freaking out about Wi-Fi and cell phones now causing cancer. What do you think they're going to say about Tesla? Running energy through the air like that. So
I know,
but there's a lot of things he's done. There's a lot of things he taught us that he talked about, and things that are possible that we can still use. We can still make use of. I mean, solar collecting energy above the Earth in geosynchronous orbit and sending it back to Earth to a substation to deliver out through AC lines will work. Yes. We should be looking at that. Yep. But it's not. We're not there yet. Yep. We're not.
But doing solar power on the Earth.
Well, even on the Earth would work if we had the proper battery technologies to efficiently store the energy right. So that's the problem, is you can't generate enough energy and store it to use it when the sun's not out to make it worthwhile, efficient, right? So I did some costing. So you can go out and you can do price costing on how many solar cells you would need on your house. Because I have a house that's positioned in a way that the south part of my house, the long part of my house on the south side, is always facing the sun during the day. I put solar panels up there, right? And I just remove the energy from that. But doing the calculations of figuring out how many solar cells I would need, it was in the 20s and 30s and $40,000s of dollars to implement it. How much money am I saving, over the long run from the electricity that I'm using now, a year? How long before that pays itself off?
Correct. And your energy
50, 60 years?
Yeah, and your energy consumption is just going to go up.
Now, you used to be able to sell that back to the grid, right? And the electric companies was forced to buy that from you. But at the end of this year, Indiana, that law goes away. Yep. So they no longer have to pay for you for that.
Good old Indiana.
So, that's special interest groups right there, taking care of that issue. But, I mean, the idea is not a bad idea. It was just we don't have the technology for it. Everybody thinks we can just pump money into it. We can just collect tax money to pay for it. And it's like
solar freaking roadways.
And technology doesn't happen by throwing money at something. It happens through thought, idea processes that happen in fits and starts and eureka moments and people having just a wait a minute moment, right? And thinking about things a certain way. And those are how those technology advances push forward, not just throwing money at it and research and you figure it out eventually, right? You have to have those things happen, and we're not there yet with the technology. We just don't have the technology in the battery storage systems to make it functional on a home level.
Safe.
Now, solar fields, company like putting a solar field out in a desert in Arizona or somewhere where people have been doing that and selling that. Great idea. Do it. Go for it. It's a lot of money you're pumping into it. You better be able to buy, get it to pay for itself after a certain time. And how are you storing that energy and delivering it? Because what do you do at night? So you got to store that energy. And until the battery systems are going to be economically feasible, and that's the key, economically feasible.
Which all that does is not money being needed to throw at it. That's just controlling the scarce resources that go into producing a solar panel. Or just, or to doing other things, okay? So it's not like you just need more cash to do it. It's like, well, is this good going after bad though? There's other things that you could probably get electricity cheaper and easier out of, just like. And
it's also the problem with nuclear now too, is that because of the regulatory things and the insurance and everything else you have to pay in order to build a nuclear power plant, it becomes so cost prohibitive that you're never going to make the money back.
Right.
That's why they're not getting built.
I don't know. We might win,
Well, eventually, if the thorium thing, technology, the waste actually is utilized in on itself to a point where it becomes something that there's no out of it, and that's happening. We have technology now that can do that. Nuclear science fields. That stuff is going to present itself, and people are going to end up having to say, they can't. I mean, they're going to have to realize they can't fight it anymore.
Right.
This is the way they're pushing us into a position so hard that we have to find alternative ways of doing power other than shale oil and other fossil fuels. That they're going to have to say this is the way to go. Mm-hmm. France has been doing it for years.
Japan, India.
I know these guys are a leg up on us. France has been most of their power comes from nuclear power. Yeah. And they enjoy a great, quality of life because of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They can stay out of these stupid wars and not worry about what the price of oil says because we don't get our oil from the Middle East, much anymore. We get most of it from Canada.
Yep.
But it's all traded on a market, and that market is based off futures, and that futures is based off what they can, get the price to, and OPEC sets that price. So we still have to play in the stupid Midwest. If it wasn't for the Mideast, we wouldn't have to deal with that stuff. We could let that all go to pot and take care of itself politically if we weren't relying on them anymore. Mm-hmm. Not relying on their oil, but relying on the price of oil.
Yep, because, because we'd still use oil. Would still use oil for many different things in this country, but just not for producing energy.
We use it for plastics.
All
plastics are made from oil.
Yep,
nobody realizes that.
Yeah.
A lot of the computer equipment stuff that we use has oil components.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Well, I don't like oil. I'm gonna tweet about that on my iPhone. Hey, wait a minute. You don't think oil was used to make that iPhone?
Yeah. Well, it's another thing when I go to. I like to do that type of thing when it comes to to vegans and stuff like that. Like when they talk about they don't like how a cow has to die or something has to die for a different product, and I was trying to tell people it's like your modern slaughtering house, are more efficient in use of a dead cow than any indigenous people ever was. You praised Native Americans and indigenous people for using the whole cow, but I trust you. Every freaking slaughterhouse, they use the whole freaking cow. Every last bit of it.
What do you think hot dogs are? Yes.
Well, hot dogs, the hooves go to the hooves for glue, right?
It's an American
the horns
institution to eat hot dogs at a baseball game, right? That's American.
They even use the blood that drains out of dead animals. That's also get refined and used, and is used into a lot of you guessed it, radiator fluid in cars. Yeah, I said it. Can't drive a car because it uses animal products. That's cow. Unless you drive an air-cooled Porsche.
Or use water and just don't drive it in the winter.
Then it'll rust.
It'll
rust. That'll rust so bad inside.
Oh, man, a cracked block is not something you want to play with.
Speaking of that, I'm finishing the rebuild on this Jeep, and I broke a camshaft bolt off in the head. The last camshaft bearing cap bolt.
Ugh.
I know. When I took them off, I looked at them and hey, these look fine. I was like, I should buy brand new ones at $8 a piece. Nah, screw it. I'm going to put these back in.
I'll save myself $40.
I know. Now I'm like, I got to take. And the problem is, it's the cam bearing cap by the firewall and the brake booster. So I can't really get my drill in there. So I have to go out and buy 90.
At least it's a Jeep.
Yeah.
So you should see I got a Sebring, and the engine's in sideways in that car, and you try to change the... Oh, man, just getting to the back by the firewall.
So you've got you got that Sebring, or the V6 or the 4-cylinder?
The V6.
Ooh, never mind. I was going to tell you.
It's a convertible,
The 4-cylinder version is kind of like the PT Cruiser and the Neon of the same year, is that you can just unhook the doghouse and just drop the whole thing out. It's when it came to a point for my Neon, I just kind of I just painted bolts and caps so I could keep pulling it out. It was so much easier to do anything on that car, but nope, I'm just going to pull it all out and just do everything. It's easier.
Well, I can't even work on that thing anymore because it's like just trying to change the air conditioner was a pain. You had to take half of the engine apart. I'm like, no. I don't.
Well, that's one cool thing with Jeep is you get two different types of people who buy Jeeps and work on them. You get this very autistic guy who will go through an hour-long video showing you every bolt to take the dash apart to get the AC out, right? Which is awesome, right? It's like, wow, I'm not doing that. Then you get the other video, there's this guy who's like, this is how you get it out in 10 minutes. and it shows you remove the glove box, you take your cutter wheel, and you cut these metal, cut the metal framework here.
Isn't it great?
You pull it out. I'm like,
So I've got a Jeep, and I have to work on it from time to time, and it's so amazing to be able to go to YouTube, and there's guys who are making videos like, here's how you take this out, and here's how you work on this on just about any car nowadays. And these mechanics have basically are making extra money doing these on YouTube, and it's wonderful because every time I need to work on something on a car, I'll pull up a YouTube video and it'll show me. And I was working on something, and I was trying to figure out how to do it, and it was just driving me nuts. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, this is going to take forever. I'm going to take this part. And I went and looked on YouTube, and it was like, oh, no, you just move this over here, and you take this over here and pop right to it. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes so much more sense. If I would have been at this thing all day working on it, it took me, half an hour to do it after watching the video. It's incredible.
Or like poring over a Chilton's manual, or sitting there having to go to AutoZone and ask somebody, so how do I do this?
Well, half them guys don't know. I mean, you're lucky if you get the guy who knows what's in Chilton's or in AutoZone or O'Reilly nowadays. Most of them just, what's the part number? I'll go look it up in the back.
Yep, they have no idea.
And Chilton's manuals are great, but if you want to know the proper way of doing things, like I was trying to get the spark plugs out on the Jeep that I had, and there's this one that you can't get a regular ratchet in there. You have to. It's like, well, if you use this ratchet with the bend in the middle, it gets right in there and it's great. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I can go buy a $5, $10 part, make my life easier. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't watched the video when they said, oh yeah, you need this part to do this. I'm like, oh, that makes it easier. I'll just do it that way then. Because it's underneath the header comes out for the exhaust, and it's just like you have to go through a hole underneath the header to get to it's such a pain.
No, my Jeep is a 4.7 V8. It's the XJ. It's a 99 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, I got a 2004 Wrangler, but I was trying to do this on a 2001, and it was just like, it's basically the same engine, but yeah, to get one of the spark plugs out, you have to go underneath the manifold with a special tool, and it comes right up. It's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
So I was trying to take, and I was funny because I was trying to replace the head gaskets, right? Or the manifold gaskets, and it was like, well, I'll just do it because I'm here, right? And it was making a whistling noise. I couldn't figure it out. I put it back together, it's still making a whistling noise. I'm like, why is it the deal? I took it in, and they said that it had gotten warped, that the actual manifold had warped. So I had to shave it down to make it fit right. So it's no amount of me cranking down hard on that thing was fit right.
Oh, speaking of that,
it's good to know.
All right, now you said this, there's warping and had to grind it down, right? I remember back on Speed Channel, and they used to have that horsepower TV about when car shows you to teach you how to do stuff. Horsepower TV did like three Saturdays in a row talking about how to port and grind intake manifolds. And that's where I learned how to do it. It was like, what? I was like, nope, this is what we're doing. So like, I went out and bought another intake manifold for my car and a grinding tool and kept watching the shows over and over again to learn how to do it. Which was
what's this about the? What was the story about the UFO? This one I had not heard about.
Oh, you didn't hear about this? Most people didn't hear about this, and it like freaked me out. I'm like, holy smokes, they're talking about UFOs in the New York Times. And people
it's Christmas week. They need a break, right?
And people kept seeing this meme everywhere. People the United States government had basically admitted that UFOs exist, and I'm like, well, they're not technically never denied it either. But the thing is, they just see it as just an unclassified, flying object that was flying around. That's just what they classify.
Most of the UFOs that people saw in the 80s.
Stealth.
Right. I mean, it's all military stuff that they're not telling people about. So they let people have the idea that it's a UFO because it keeps the heat off of them, and they can still do stuff. Right?
So much easier that way.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much easier. Sorry, I got Lacey walking behind me. No, messing with me. Yeah, 2 Navy airmen and an object that accelerated like nothing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything accelerate like this ever. The following recounts on an incident in 2004 that advocates research into UFOs. have said is the kind of event worthy of more investigation, and that was studied by a Pentagon program that investigated UFOs. Experts caution that earthly explanations often exist for such incidents, and that not knowing the explanation does not mean that the event has interstellar origins. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate were on a routine training mission 100 miles out into the Pacific when the radio in each of their FA-18 F Super Hornets crackled. An operations officer aboard the USS Princeton, a Navy cruiser, wanted to know if they were carrying weapons. What's the difference between a Hornet and a Super Hornet? Because I've always called it FA-18 Hornets, but never knew what the Texas. I always looked that up. But the FA-18s have so many different variations on the stinking planes.
Yeah.
But anyways,
it's probably the engine model or something that makes them go faster.
Yeah,
something like that.
See, they're talking about. Yeah, cool. They got the chat on. Hope everyone likes us doing the Twitch. Yes, I'll buzz before anyone asks. Yes, I have control of the Facebook page. Yes, I can just Facebook Live this thing. I hate doing things on Facebook because the chat feature on Facebook sucks. So I love the chat feature on Steam on Twitch when I stream. So much easier to read because Facebook sucks for live streaming. I'm sorry, it sucks. Sucks. Anyways, two CATM-9s, and it wasn't in the military. I have no idea what CAT-M-9s. Commander Fravor replied, referring to dummy missiles that could not be fired. Okay, so they only had dummy missiles on them. Why were they carrying dummy? Oh, because they were on a training mission.
Mission.
Yeah. Okay, yes, they had it. I was like, what? He had not been expecting any hostile exchanges off the coast of San Diego that November afternoon in 2004. Commander Fravor, in a recent interview with the New York Times, recalled what happened next. Some of it's captured in a video made public by officials with a Pentagon program that investigated UFOs. We've got a real-world vector for you, the radio operator said. According to Commander Fravor, for 2 weeks, the operator said that Princeton had been tracking mysterious aircraft. The objects appeared suddenly at 80,000 feet and then hurled towards the sea, eventually stopping at 20,000 feet, hovering, and then they either dropped out of radar range or shot straight back up. The radio operator instructed Commander Fravor and Commander Slate, who has given a similar account, to investigate. The two fighter planes headed toward the objects. The Princeton alerted them as they closed in, but when they arrived at merge plot with the object, a naval aviation parlance for being so close that the Princeton could not tell which were the objects and which were fighter jets. Neither Commander Fravor nor Commander Slate could see anything at first. There was nothing on the radars either. Then Commander Fravor looked down to the sea, and it was calm that day, but the waves were breaking over something that was just below the surface. Whatever it was, below the surface, whatever it was big enough to cause the sea to churn. Hovering 50 feet above the churn was an aircraft of some kind, whitish, that was around 40 feet long, oval shape, and the craft was jumping around erratically, staying over the wave, and disturbance was not moving in any specific direction. Commander Fravor said the disturbance looked like a frothy waves and foam, and it was like water was boiling. So, Commander Fravor began circular descent to get a closer look. It was as he got near the object, ascending towards him was almost as if it were coming to meet him halfway, he said, and the Commander Fravor abandoned his circular descent and headed straight for the object. But then the object peeled away and accelerated like nothing else I've ever seen, he said in an interview, and he said, pretty weirded out. The two fighter jets then conferred with the operations officer on the Princeton and were told to head to a rendezvous point 60 miles away, called the Cat Point. And they have video of it here. I'm going to play that here on the screen. Let you guys all take a look at this thing real quick. Alright. Did I even turn the audio back on this thing? Yes, I did. Okay, cool. What if it's in HD?
Probably not. These things are never good quality, right?
Alright. Let's get this Bigfoot video. I think I don't know what I'm Okay. All right. Oh, this must be night vision. Okay. I see the kidney bean. It's a kidney bean. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, flip it from Fleer to not.
Sucker's moving. Sucker was moving. All right. So what do you think that was?
No idea as a spot.
Yep.
But it could have very well have been aircraft that these people hadn't seen before.
Gundam, possible
Yeah, even
Gundam.
being American.
Yep.
Yeah, other people are doing planes now these days, so
Yep. Time traveler,
it's
Gundam.
kind of hard to tell from that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. They were,
Now, when pilots start saying they've seen stuff, I and astronauts too, I get a little more weight into it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it's hard for me to quantify this stuff because what do you see there, right?
Mhm. You know, what did they see there with their own eyes? And that
Yeah.
in that
Yeah, we're not seeing a very good picture of. We see a little dot, then we see the dot fly away. It's hard for us to say, okay, a reasonable speed that it was moving at is
right. Is that
what's our knowledge of it? It's really kind of hard to say about that stuff.
Correct.
It's always these things are always interesting. Like my thing is that with the quality of cameras we have these days and everything else, and how many cameras are being pointed everywhere. The fact that we haven't seen as much as we were used to seeing is telling me something about what we were used to seeing, right? What those old sightings were really stuff that when you look at with a closer eye or a better camera is obvious not what people were thinking it was.
Considering a lot of people are going to have 4K cameras here in a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
Except my webcam. This webcam is 4080p. Thank you.
There's a lot of things that I've kind of seen and heard about that kind of makes me go, but nothing that makes me go, aha, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things where I'm saying, this is very interesting to know more about it and get some, more details on. But nothing that just said, oh yeah, that's obviously an alien right there. Like the lights in a V shape over, that could very well have been a new bomber plane because they're in a V shape these days, right? It could have been something that the military is working on. I can see that, but
Dreadnought.
Nothing where oh, that's obviously alien.
Dreadnought Star Destroyer that we have.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's hard to really say any of that stuff. I couldn't from that. There's no way. Yeah.
All right. Continue on with the article. They were en route and closing in when the Princeton radioed again. Radar again picked up the strange aircraft. Sir, you won't believe it, the radar said, but that thing is at your cap point. What's a cap point? Yep. Anyway, don't know. We were at least 40 miles away, and in less than a minute, this thing was already at our cap point. Commander Fravor was, who has since retired from the Navy, said in an interview, by the time the two fighter jets arrived at the rendezvous point, the object had disappeared. The fighter jets returned to Nitmitz, where everyone on the ship had learned of Commander Fravor's encounter and was making fun of him. Commander Fravor's superior did not investigate further, and he went on with his career, deploying to the Persian Gulf to provide air support to ground troops during the Iraq War, but he does remember what he saw, and it was evening to a fellow pilot who asked him what he thought he had seen. I have no idea what I saw. Commander Fravor replied to the pilot, "It had no plumes, wings, or rotors, and it outran our F-18s." But he added, "I want to fly one."
So when did this happen again? So this is making talk about how
November 2004.
Oh, well, that.
Yep.
I think New York Times is dredging this out because they had space to be honest with you.
How long to the iPhone 4K? Weekend. 2 years after every Android phone has 4K. And they'll probably do and a 5K screen. It'll be an iPhone with a 4K camera and a 5K screen for some reason.
Yeah. I still harken back to the Nokia Windows phone that was the 1070 that was so good, and nobody's been able to capture that yet.
Yeah, it's. Let's see, cat point
40 megapixels or something like that. Still have that. It's a really great camera. I did buy something for my wife for Christmas. I'm sorry. It was she has a Moto Play, which has the attachments on it, and there's an attachment to put a camera on the back of it. Like it takes over the camera functionality of the back camera, and it has a nice 10x zoom on it, and it's really good quality, and all these features would come with it.
See, that's
Hasselblad makes it, and that's a really nice feature. I like that idea of using attachments on your phone, so you can do speakers and stuff like that as an attachment on the back. It's really cool. I like that.
I like those. I like phones like that are very feature rich, that you just add different things to. I don't like it when my phone or anything just tries to be like an everything. You know, like
I don't get the
I don't get the appeal of wanting a camera on my phone. You know, I've got a camera. I want to buy an SLR. I want to buy a camera over here. I want to use this to make calls and text people. You know.
Well, I mean, I like a good quality camera on the phone like that. That makes sense. But for me, I just want a phone that makes it's a phone. I mean, if I want to carry around a tablet that I want to use, and I can hook my phone to Wi-Fi and use it, through Wi-Fi, I'd rather do that. And I have an actual tablet. I use my Surface to do that, right? And I have a keyboard, and I have a nice computer, and I don't know. It seems to me like we're trying to form fit everything into a camera a phone size, and the phones aren't big enough to do the things that you really want to do real stuff on.
Yep, pretty much.
It plays game. It's a glorified iPad, or not iPad, but iPod, right? It's a glorified iPod music player. It has some screen functionality and touch on it. Great. I can play games on it. Awesome. But if I want to really play games, I want to play it on my computer or on my Surface.
All right. The next thing I would go, before we get to the Edward Snowden thing, I wanted to play...
So Snowden has a new app out.
Nope. No. Oh, no. We're doing this real quick. I always bring this up to some people, and they never really, they don't really know what I'm talking about. So now I have control of the clicker and the show, so I'm going to force everyone to listen to this. Yeah. 1997 syndicated talk show host Art Bell. If Alex Jones was proven correct in 2017, Art Bell... 2018, okay, all right. Perfect call from a man claiming to have worked for Area 51. I know, right? This already sounds awesome, right?
Aliens. The Ancient Aliens TV show. Correct. My wife watches Aliens day in, day out. She just loves them. Yeah. And I sit there and watch them for 50 minutes, and I can't do it anymore because it's so bad.
It's so bad.
The critical thought processes. Oh.
So this call was a call that came in to Art Bell in 97. The guy was claiming to be an Area 51 worker, and he wanted to get on air to tell his tale. The band Tool actually used this audio from this on one of their albums. It was like the end, like you get to the end of the track, and it was just cut in.
You're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna. They'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens, Art, they're extra dimensional beings that in earlier nuclear precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
Okay, so this is, so this happened in '97. This is when I always tell people, is like, I like high quality trolls. But this is what this is what, like, when I talk about like high quality A rank trolling back in the '90s and stuff like that. This guy, now this guy, if you believe it or not,
people don't know how to troll these days.
Yeah, people don't know how to troll these days. But this guy did this. He was saying all this thing, and it just happened also at the same time where Art Bell's station, everything, the power lost. They kicked him off the air. Everything shut down. His entire station shut down. So, like, if you were listening to the Art Bell show when this was happening, this call just kind of just stopped, and he instantly just started playing some jazz. Yeah, dead air, then jazz, and it was like freaked you out. So it was like, and it was also at the time where a lot of people were still like online. You were listening to Art Bell and doing stuff online, and people were discussing John Teeter, and this happened. It was like, what is going on? But this guy later came back on like onto the Art Bell show, and they always talk about the creepiness of it. But the guy, he calls back into with a different voice into like this. He claims to be like this was a hoax now. But you have to decide if you believe this is true.
Well, here's the flaw in the whole plan that he stated in that message. Right, they're going to wipe out the major populations so that the rest of the U.S. could be easily controlled. Think about that. Mm-hmm. The people who are able to control us now are doing so through the major population centers. Mm-hmm. If New York, Chicago, L.A., Houston are all gone, what would the political landscape of this country look like?
Huh.
It would be Red Dawn, man. Where there's be the rest of the country, the people with the gun, leave us alone, would be all that's left.
Yeah.
The only way they can control all of us now is through the population centers of all the liberal, with all the power over the government.
Where they're moving everyone to these major population centers to control votes.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's kind of a flaw in that whole plan. And if these aliens or extra-dimensional beings were smart enough, they'd know do it that way.
Either that, he got the idea wrong, and is the idea, to move them all he meant move them all to these safe areas, like as in move out of the cities. Who knows?
It's silly. It's funny because it's a great fear thing that people are immediately. But when you logically think about it,
it doesn't work right.
Because if aliens want to control the world, all they had to do is land, show superior force, enslave us all. We're not going to be able to stop it. You know what I mean?
You don't know that.
Please.
My Rex Kwon Do is so powerful, I would stop them. Okay?
Well, and you remember that's why Japan never attacked the United States. They knew better than to try to actually do a land attack on the United States, because we would have every living American would have grabbed a gun and fought back because we have guns.
Mm-hmm. We have guns, and it's
we're not afraid to use them.
Yeah. I think I'm going to bring up a meme. I'm going to get memed real hard. Hopefully there's no trolls listening. But the Animorph books, they were talking about how like they have countless alien invasions and that they could have all these different alien races. And people's like, well, just go in there and enslave them. It's like, yes, but they have this thing called an M4. It's a very crude weapon, but it kills. It kills very well.
Yeah, ask the Indians about enslavement. I mean, it doesn't take much. You just have to have superior weaponry. That's it, and a will to use them.
Yep. How do you follow? If you're on Twitch, you can make yourself a Twitch account, and you click the follow button. It should be on the top, and you click on the follow. And you can become a follower here on Twitch. If you also are an Amazon Prime member, you can also link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. That will allow you to not be able to see the ads, because I'm sure some of the people are getting cuts in because you're not Prime members and you're getting, you're getting ads. Which, if you're wondering if I'm making money off those ads, I am not.
Not until you're an affiliate, well, or even a partner.
Yeah.
I'm an affiliate. I don't get.
Yeah.
Now, also, when you do click on a follow, you can click on the notifications option and turn on notifications, so you'll be notified on Twitch when We Are Libertarians goes live.
Correct. Or also be just a member of the Discord channel, and Mr. BC's will tell you, when we go when this thing goes live. Which I most of the time go live on this channel on Friday nights when we game, and we usually play games on here, and you don't see fall. Should be up.
Yeah, it looks like a heart. It looks like a heart button.
Yeah, but most of the time we're on here on Friday nights gaming and talk. I think one time I was on here with Nice, and we really got autistic one time. It was just me and him in a chat room. It got bad, very bad. I probably try not to do that again, but it was so much fun. All right.
Well, and this is different too, because you're not. Well, we're not playing. We're just,
this is
kind of in a wall.
Yeah. This is fun to you because I'm not gaming. I'm just talking, just busy doing the thing. So it's like the setup's kind of weird. I have all this stuff on it, and it also feels weird because I'm not gaming. I want to game. Don't get me wrong. That's what I want to do.
Oh, yeah, Minecraft up in the background too.
And I really think if Reinhold didn't jump in, I probably would have just booted up a game and talked while I was gaming.
I'll blame it on me.
Yep, it's all you. All you. All right, so Snowden. Let's see where we gotta go. Snowden. We're on the Intercept.
Love the Intercept.
I know.
I'm telling you guys, seriously, just read the Intercept every day. Especially Glenn Greenwald. You're going to get the best news out of him. His game lately has just been trolling the Democrats and pointing out all of their hypocrisies. That's my favorite thing in the world to do.
What I like to do is when I hear anything written about the Democratic Party, I like to autistically go through the article and then go on WikiLeaks and then throw that name through the Hillary Clinton email or the DNC email database and just go through it every time they mention somebody or anything. Sometimes you find some cool gems. Yeah. Like that like the whole UFO article, right? There's other articles written out. They've got a lot of different names on it, and different people who are pointing to different things. Oh, yeah, it's if you love rabbit holes and have nothing to do while drinking, it's a beautiful thing to do. Boot up your screens, read an article about the Democratic Party, throw up WikiLeaks in the other one, and just go through it that way. I think Ryan Holzer was like, what? Yeah, it's fun. Anyways, Edward Snowden's new app uses smartphone to physically guard your laptop. This is another thing like Snowden they were coming up with that Faraday cage that you would slide your phone into that would protect it. That's why I like buying phones that you can take the battery out of, because I like having the ability to remove my battery. That's why I only buy phones like that. So if I wanted to stop becoming a What are your shots? I am just drinking just Jim Beam honey. because it's easy. I plan on putting it in I planned on going out Friday night and putting it in my flask, so it's nice to put in there, and it's cheap because I'm not putting good scotch in a flask. I don't care what anyone says. I don't like good whiskey going in flask. Good whiskey should go into a glass and then into your mouth. That's it. Notice I didn't add ice. Now you can add some. I'm not a snob, or even the purist. It says even a small amount of like room temperature water and water does help bring out a lot of the notes in whiskey, certain whiskeys. Anyways, back to the article. Like many other journalists, activists, and software developers, I know I carry my laptop everywhere while I'm traveling. It contains sensitive information, messaging app, conversations, emails, password, databases, encryption keys, unreleased work, web browsers, logged into various accounts, and so on. My disk is encrypted, but all it takes is to bypass the protection is for an attacker, a malicious hotel housekeeper, or evil maid, basically a mobile evil server, for example, just spend a few minutes physically tampering with it without my knowledge. If I come back and continue to use my compromised computer, the attacker could gain access to everything. Edward Snowden and his super friends have a solution. The NSA whistleblower and a team of collaborators have been working on a new open-source Android app called Haven that you install on a spare smartphone, turning the device into a sort of sentry to watch over your laptop. Haven uses the smartphone's many sensors, microphone, motion detector, light detector, and cameras to monitor the room for changes, and it logs everything it notices. The first public beta version of Haven has officially been released. It is available in the Play Store and on F-Droid, an open-source app store. Yes, one thing is you have to understand one of the biggest security flaws on Android is the Google Play Store. That is your biggest hole. So is technically is F-Droid, but F-Droid is a little bit more. It's fun because you don't have the inherited flaws of Google. But that's a whole can of worms. I don't want to go into that right now. Just scratch everything I just said. I don't want to go into that right now. Please don't make me do it. Snowden is helping to develop the software through a project he leads at the Freedom of the Press Foundation, which receives funding from the Intercept's parent company. I sit on the FPF board with Snowden. That's the Michael Lee, who wrote this article, not Harry. I don't sit on the board with Snowden and my FPF founder, and lent some help developing the app, including through 9 months of testing. With the noted, I'll be forthright about the product's flaws below, and I've solicited upon input from this article of people not involved. The one thing I really wanted to read this paragraph right here, is that full freaking disclosure of his relationship with the person he is writing about, and his interest in it, and wanting it, and being like honest about it, not trying to hide that information. You know, Apple Store is much safer. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's because it's a sandbox. Can't do much, but it's safe. Anyways, also collaborating on Haven is the Guardians Project, a global collective of mobile security app developers. So basically, you get here in the.
But wanted to keep it safe.
I'm going to post the video for.
Haven turns any spare Android phone into a safe phone.
Notice how that thing had Tor on it, okay, and Signal, secure messaging app, and secure web browsing right there. I thought that was pretty cool, okay.
Haven turns any spare Android phone into a safe room that fits in your pocket. It sounds crazy, so how does it work? Well, when you think about a smartphone today, they've got an incredible amount of surveillance equipment that is built into them. Typically 2 cameras, they've got 3 microphones, they've got barometers, accelerometers, light sensors, always on internet connection. They have the power to understand everything that's going on around them. But what if we could use all of that to do something good in the world, something more than just letting Facebook track everyone that you ever loved? We designed Haven as a tool for investigative journalists, human rights defenders, and people at risk. By combining the power of these sensors with the world's most secure communications technologies, things like Signal and Tor, Haven makes it harder to silence citizens, raids, searches, arrests, without getting caught in the act themselves. This creates a kind of herd immunity where before people launch a crackdown, they have to think, will I be witnessed in a way that I can't stop? But you don't have to be saving the world to benefit from Haven. Imagine the thing you want to protect the most. Maybe it's personal. Maybe it's practical. Maybe it's not a thing at all. Maybe it's you. Haven does more than watch your back. It gives you peace of mind. That's why we're releasing Haven today as an open source project, as a public beta release of this app. That means you can join us in making the world not just safe, but free by contributing to the project, whether in code or dollars. We're looking for contributors who understand that physical security is as important today as digital, who have an understanding and compassion for the threats faced by users and communities we support. The challenges that Haven has to tackle are pretty cool when you think about this on a technical level. We're making constant use of encrypted messaging, onion routing, image processing, audio buffering in interesting ways where you can learn a lot at the same time that you're doing something good. We all have something to protect. Thanks to collaborations of projects like this, thanks to the Guardian Project, the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and you, now we can. Get Haven. Get control.
So, all right, so that's basically what Haven is. It's a cool app that you put on a spare mobile device that uses all its sensors. Now, I like this product for two things. Cool, I love the practicality of it to watch for physical security of like your like desktops or laptops or safes and stuff like that. The other thing I like about it, right, one, is that it uses this app and talk to people like, well, so if people, one, will see this and go think, like, wow, this is cool, this is awesome, and then start thinking to themselves, this thing has how many sensors? This thing can see what around me? This thing can do what around me? Yep. A lot of apps control a lot of that, or have additions to a lot of these things that are going around, and that pocket of sensors is in your pocket. I just like this.
Well, I was noticing, and I'm back. I was noticing on my phone too that if it detects that you're around, it won't lock by voice, right? So if it hears you talking around it, it won't lock. So it's always listening.
Yep, it's always listening. It's always listening. Just like those Alexa devices, and they also did it backwards compared to like they put a lot of the Kindle Fires, like the Kindle. I keep a Kindle in the bathroom because it's easy to read on, and keep a cheap little $50 Kindle in the bathroom because it's like, oh, I'm going to read. I'm going to be in there for a while. It's awesome. Up until the point that I noticed that one time it did an update, it's got Alexa on it. I was like, uh-oh, this thing's got to leave the. Now I've got stickers over the camera, and I'm considering opening it up or removing the microphone on the sucker. Lucky it's got a crappy camera and a crappy microphone on it because it's a cheap little Kindle.
Well, and I was in a Verizon store the other day, picked a present for my wife, and they were trying to sell me on the or the Google Home or whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
they're trying to do that. Well, it's always listening to you. Pick up, so it's always on, always listening. So all it takes is somebody cracking into that, CIA, and everybody's listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, CIA, like a lot of people go like, well, it's just state agencies. Like, well, yeah, but if a state agency can get in, right, then that means someone wrote a script. The CIA and the NSA are bad at leaving their hacks around. People get them, or people find them, right? Because let's say I found out this code, right? I wrote the script to the code. I sold it, right? Some people use it, and some people, and eventually, right, some script kiddie's going to get it. Once a script kiddie gets it, they're going to take it, and they can use that, right, just to rob people, okay? Now, I'm saying, I want you to know I'm using the word script kiddie just trying to mean like someone young using scripts that they didn't write themselves or have no understanding from it, right? Script kiddie, a lot of people use it as a derogatory term, but a lot of people in the security community and high-end IT people back in the day and their kids and when they were young, they were script kiddies too. I was a script kiddie when I was like 16, 18, okay? There's nothing wrong with becoming a script kiddie.
Well, nobody writes their own script stuff from scratch anymore. But
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. There's something wrong if you stay there, but it's like that's a lot of people's like starting zone. That's your noob zone. You know, people build up from there.
Well, and the worst part is we already know that caches of CIA tools have been stolen or leaked.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we've already found that stuff out. So it's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah. And in the chat, that Snow interview when it was like unsoldering like the microphone. That's why I love I don't really like devices I can't get inside if I want to. You know, I don't like sealed devices. Like that's where it's really hard. Like my wife was like it took me forever to find like another Samsung phone for her that I can take apart.
You can take the battery pack off. Yeah, you can take the battery out.
Oh yeah, but it seems like the cheaper ones, the J line, the J7 line, it's not as good as some of the S Galaxy line, but at least the J line you can get everything from the S7 and S8, but you can take it apart. You can get access to the screws again. It's what I like. It's what I want to have access to. Just like my Nexus 7 2013 edition tablet, I can pop this sucker open and sit there and remove his GSM antenna. Okay, sit there, take it out, toss this. I don't need this. I don't want it. That's another thing when people go like, "Hey, I got this old Android." The thing is, I also don't like about it, right? Is that I use a small Android phone, and I would prefer this Haven instead of being an app would be a complete operating system. Okay, that it is its own operating system. It just does Haven. Okay, now
isn't there an OS that does that now?
I don't know. But it would be great if it was just an operating system, so you didn't have to have all the, and then it was told to, granted, it would have to be a software switch to turn off its Wi-Fi or turn off its Bluetooth or stuff like that, because I feel that most people would use an old, Samsung device or old device that might have a security flaw in it to maybe be able to shut down the Haven app, and simple fact, if it's, let's say it's an old Android device, right? You can probably mess with it through its GSM antenna, get it to connect, reconnect to wear down the battery fast enough on the sucker, and now it's dead, and you don't have to worry about your little spy device, unless you plug it in. Well, the other thing I'm going to it is I'm at the point now I'm trying to find security flaws and everything, and how I would get around it. This is how I would get around that. But I like the idea of it, and most people don't understand all the sensors that are in a phone. That your phone, if especially they get the accelerometer. Most phones have temperature gauge on it, so if you ever want to know how cold it is, your phone knows what the temperature is outside.
Well, there's an app now where you can put your finger up against it and
it'll tell your temperature from the.
That's how are you doing that with those sensors? And it's just amazing to me that people don't realize that stuff's there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what I really
I use it for my speedometer. I mean, my speedometer's broken in a vehicle.
Oh, you just put the phone up there?
Put the phone up there. It just tells me how fast I'm driving. There's a speedometer app.
What I liked about it too was the what was it? There was some guy at DevCon was talking about. He was able to trace people using the IR signal that's coming off the phone and the different wavelengths that are coming off the phone. That apparently that phones from different manufacturers, right? Certain manufacturers give off a certain wavelength that's different, and that's traceable and is unique to phones. They can sit there, and he was basically like in the talk was talking about he could write a script, let's say he worked for a company like Apple, right? And he could write a script so if any Apple Android device got on an elevator, the elevator would just stop working. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I remember back in the days when we first started having.
Sorry, you cut out. I'm sorry.
So you used to build your own ROMs back in the first days of the smartphone community, right? So I had a Windows phone back in the day when Windows was top one, but you would basically cook your own ROM to take out all these different apps that you want and build your own, basically. It's not the OS, but it's the ROM aspect of it, so you can take in and put out, what you wanted. They need to get back into that, and I think a lot of that's gone away now. I mean, with Android, you're supposed to be able to do that sort of stuff, and I haven't got into that community yet. But it seems interesting to me to be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to do it on my phone because it's a company-owned phone, and they require mass on it and all this other stupid stuff that, But for a secondary phone, it would be really neat.
Android Pure, non the Google version. If you go out and get the actual open source Google project Android, there's a lot of stuff people doing stuff like that. But the Google version of Android, no one does that in there anymore. Yeah. Most people don't even root their phones anymore.
No.
But of course, I don't root my phone either because there's a lot of security risk that comes into rooting your phone. There's a lot of things.
True.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that happens when you do root your phone. When is the next live show? In the future, I don't know. Spangle usually does that. I'm trying to get him on
this.
Yeah. You're talking to him about like
this is live.
I'm thinking like doing like wall live. Are you talking about like a wall live?
Actual
live.
Yeah,
actual live.
He wants to hear Dear Leader's voice.
Yeah. I don't. We will
because he does keep us on track.
Yeah, does keep us on track. Yeah, yeah. Another Wheel Libertarians. We'll come back in 2018, but like a wall live event, actual go out in public. I don't know. I'm hoping Dear Leader gets one cooked up for like the next State of the Union address. I think that one would be fun to do with everybody sitting around do the State of the Union. But who knows? Who knows? Do love my bourbon, but that's what I think. Like that's why I like this whole like Snowden thing, giving people that idea of thinking of what's that pack, that thing of sensors they're walking around with. It's how can I put it? I just like people thinking of that. I am so close, and I really think that this might be my last smartphone. I'm thinking about moving on to going back to the old school Nokia flip phone. Like I went out and bought a.
Can you still get them now?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yes, you can. A lot of different companies are making one, and LG just made a badass new one. Here, let me go look for it. I'm going to. I'm searching
went
for
to a smartphone. Yeah, my mom went to a smartphone because she couldn't get a phone on her thing anyway. She doesn't even want a smartphone.
Okay, then she needs this thing. It's called the LG Exalt LTE. Everyone's wondering, like, why'd you cover up the screen? Because I'm not going to be like Sargon of Akkad and search it and you guys see my porn. So, sorry. By porn, I mean, like, my different cool videos. I will show you guys if you guys want to see this stuff. Not porn, but the other things on my thing, like my thing. I just got different things on here, like link without a link thing, integrity things. My poke button, remember I talked about how, like, all these people that I, like, poke, I have a button right there, I get there and get the poke war going. Different, like, I keep having, like, get a lot of calls for, like, this Windows 8 crash thing. So it's an easy fix for me, and I leave it right here, so I just read that script there to help people fix that. There's a link up here is The Unknown History of Misandry. It's a predatory women in the 26th century and a scam called the. So it's really, really cool thing. Got it from Hannah Wallen. That's what this link's up here. Another thing is because I've been working on my Jeep arm list for going to get guns. Up here in the corner is just a vast stuff and a vast safe price control and eye guard. So, like, if I want to turn my eye guard on to make it better for my eyes, if I'm staring at the screen for too long. So that's what that stuff is.
About 3 to 4 times the tabs open you do.
I try not to do tabs. Now, down here, I'm rocking Windows 8 because Windows 8 is awesome. Look at that beauty. Because Windows 8 is badass.
Windows 10 is better.
No, it's not. So I got my calculator, my command prompt, another one, Chrome, Steam, my snip tool, great for making memes or capturing things. I got to work on my hard drives. I accidentally clicked on it. My computer. Then I've got.
We need to teach you the joys of OneNote. OneNote is the best application out there.
Okay. All right.
Microsoft Office OneNote.
Maybe I should start doing a show called Teach Harry. I have everyone bring me their cool thing I don't use. Adobe Photoshop CS2. Yeah, still using CS2. Audacity, of course. Theme Phone, which is the great product from Michael W. Dean and Derek Slopey. Ooh, OBS, this is how I'm streaming this. I got Dreamweaver down here, news version Dreamweaver. Epic Games Launcher for stupid Fortnite. Discord, my 7 Days to Die. What is it? My 7 Day to Die mod launcher to just launch mods for 7 Days to Die. I'm sure you guys want to know. You guys are curious. I know you guys are, but staring at, trying to look at my bottom, find out what this thing, and going remote.
I see Putty and Audacity there.
Yeah, because I need my putty. Anyways, the phone I'm talking about is LG Exalt LT from Verizon Wireless, the VM22. It's a flip phone, right? Just like any other, and it's a brand new flip phone. Just came out. It's really, really cool. It's a hardcore flip phone, and the best part about this flip phone, it has a 4G LTE hotspot built in. So yeah, it does text to speech. It doesn't do Facebook, but it will kick onto. It will turn into a 4G LTE hotspot. Kick it down and then
Facebook with your tablet.
Yeah, get on with your tablet or your freaking laptop, and that's what I have always been looking for. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe they finally freaking built one. And it's an LG. So I think this might be my new phone. I'm kind of concerned with all the flash and camera on it. I could go without that, and but the cool thing is very visible, and I can easily take out this single camera up here. So
you can put duct tape over it.
Yeah, duct tape over it. And it's just a flip phone, even putting tape over it doesn't matter to me, and I can use it for phones and calls. Now, granted, some people were like, well, what about Signal? Now I can use Signal, as a pure standalone program on my computer. Does it do Tor? No, it does not do Tor, but my phone, my tablet, and everything else I use does use Tor. So I could get on Tor on my phone, on my laptop, or my personal favorite, VPN somewhere else, and have a Raspberry. I'm not going to get convoluted. VPN. What I like to do is. All right, you can take a Raspberry Pi and put OpenVPN on it, right? So you can VPN into that and then use its connection that it's on. Well, if you can get to a place, I'm not going to tell you where, that has nice Wi-Fi there, and you can find a power source to power this Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure how you do this. Please get permission too. And you can just leave it there, connected to the Wi-Fi, power it on, and then you can just open VPN to that and have that thing run Tor somewhere else. So you can VPN to that and then use Tor there, which to me gives you that much for protection, because they'll have to find that Pi first before they find you. The only thing is, they find that Pi, they're going to find you.
What was the Christian Slater movie where he was doing the pirate radio?
Oh, crap. I do not know. I thought about doing pirate radio myself, though. You think about it.
What was it? It was a wonderful movie. Oh, Pump Up the...
Christian
God, that was a good movie.
Slater.
So much good music in that movie.
Pump Up the...
But he was doing that. He was using transmitter in his neighbor's house. His neighbors got busted because of the triangulation.
Yep. Well, because stupid, some people just... the thing is, that's the thing is, I thought about doing that too, for the simple fact that, I'm so close to Fort Bend State Park that, with the right antenna and the right solar panels, I can kind of hide it in the park. So I just have to wait for shiny shoe people to go through the park. But the other thing is, too, it just takes one couple of ham radio operators to, find it, take it out. Because a lot of ham radio operators take out pirate radios and stuff like that for sport.
Yeah, ham radio is another thing I always wanted to get into, and I know.
It's easier now. They took Morse code off now.
Yeah, you used to have Morse code in order to get ham license.
Yeah, and if you really are looking for your ham radio license and you live close to Indianapolis, you can go to Club Siberia, and you do Club Siberia, and they will teach you how to do your, which is our local maker space, and you can learn how to get your ham radios operated license there.
Club Siberia. I've heard about that.
Yep,
I'll have to check it out. I know we had a maker.
Yep, 33rd and Post Road. First Saturday of the month is open house day. Yep.
It reminds me back in the day when we used to have computer fairs and people would get together with different. It just doesn't happen anymore. It's all.
Did you used to go to the computer fairs in Indianapolis, in Indiana?
Oh, I used to run a bulletin board in Indianapolis.
Oh man, what if we
I used to run a bulletin board called Never S Mountain.
Okay,
I wrote a door based off of that I was selling for other BBS's team. It was a really fun time back in the days. You pick up the computer shopper, you go to Computers 2000, which is gone now, unfortunately, and you get the computer shopper little magazine, and it had a page in the back with all the BBSs in town, and that's how I got into computers and modems. My first modem was a 150 baud modem for my Commodore 64.
Oh man, you're a child of the baud.
I miss those days because it was like you had to. We put the first hard drive in a computer. I don't know if I told the story before, but we put the first hard drive in this computer we had, and we had to, you had to get into the code, the BIOS code onto the controller in order to make it be seen by the OS. And you didn't have like you have now with the internet. You just go find the information. We were doing it all. It was a Wild West territory trying to find stuff.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
All right, so this thing I'm putting up right here is Trell. This is the back end where we keep all the stories and stuff like that. I've cleaned it up so it looks like but this is where we keep our stories to keeping everything organized. That's Trell. That's what we use it for. So that's a little behind the scenes. So a little behind the scenes shot for all you people tuning in here on the Twitch. But yeah, I used to. My dad never really woke me up to go fishing as a kid. That's not what he did. He did wake me up and took me to computer shows and computer fairs all the time, all through Indiana. That's what I did. That's how I built my first computer, did everything, was because I would have to spend all morning long at computer shows and computer fairs. All day.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And
I had to get into it myself because, man, where I was living out in the country, and it just wasn't anybody else involved or interested in computers back in the mid-'80s.
What book or YouTube video would you recommend for ham radio license? I don't know. I am interested in getting my ham radio license. I have not gone and done it. I'm sure there's a lot of different cool YouTube videos out there for doing it. In books, I recommend trying to get up with your local ham radio operators group. A lot of the group, if you can find a ham radio operator around you, they are very enthusiastic to teach and get more hams. They will show you what radio to buy, to practice, to learn proper etiquette. A lot of them will even show you how to be with them and watch them do it, because you may want to even see someone get on and see what you can do with a ham to see if there's something even you want to do. Granted, it is an amazing piece of tech that for some reason the FCC has locked down to this point, because it's technically, it's more powerful than most cell phones, and it was easier, especially at the time when it was huge, especially back in the 90s, and where you can make basically a call or talk to someone in a different country just because you've got the correct repeater and and it's 2 a.m. and you can get your signal boosted out that far out there. That's
how we won the Cold War, was ham radio. I mean, admit that, but that's how we got information in and out of West Berlin and that type of thing. That it's you ask why the government's locking down on it. They don't want that. They don't want people talking about stuff.
How did I set up my tower at Portcliff with no license? You get your experimental license from the FCC, and that's how you can set it up. Or you just turn it on, turn it off, and leave the area.
They got to find you. They got to find it, and they got to find.
Usually, if you practice correct radio practices, it will take a while for it. Usually, most people will, if you're doing bad in the radio signal frequency, someone will find you because you're doing bad. But if your cell tower, is doing everything it's supposed to be doing. You can almost help out every other tower that's around you. And so, unless you're dropping packets, doing something like that, but, that's when it gets bad, so, that too.
So what was some of the other stories you were talking about?
Which other ones? The alien ones, or?
Did we get them all? The ones you wanted to rant about?
I think the only one you didn't rant about, because of that, was the court challenging the NSA surveillance in 2017 from the electronic front.
FISA thing.
Yeah. Which, the main thing with this, and that was always ticked me off about this, was like, if you think a sheet of paper has stopped them from spying, you're wrong. Because if they can,
well, now you've got a whole party who's supporting the intelligence community, right? So they're able to do whatever they want.
Right.
They get the backing of half the country.
Correct. Yep. But their status, and that's what they wanted to do. That's how you can, keep government control. You give them more power.
And they got in the power that they have because of fear from 9/11 and the right supported it and saying we need this to keep us safe and all sorts of stuff. And now the left
keep us safe from the Russians, the Ruskies.
Yeah,
the Ruskies.
It's just so strange.
Yep. Which is like, so basically this whole article just talks about trying to get the NSA from stop spying on the internet, doing stuff like that. But my thing is, you guys actually think they stopped? Now, you may think I'm a conspiracy theorist because you try to tell me like a sheet of paper had them stop.
They did it without authorization to begin with. That was the whole part with Snowden. Is he Clapper got up in front of Congress and said, "We're not doing this." Mm-hmm. And Snowden released information that he was lying. Nothing came of that. So Clapper is still out there doing stuff. He was still the one who convinced everybody that the Russians are the ones hacking the Democrats and that they're doing all this nefarious stuff. And nobody's brought him to task for lying to Congress for that. His defense was, well, I forgot about that program. How do you forget about a program that is so against everything this country stands for and is so illegal that, I just slipped my mind that we're doing that? What other things that slipped your mind?
Right.
That you were basically spying on every single American in the country.
All right, so we were on the other screen. We were busy, so I did not notice. We also got some new followers here on Twitch. Thank you for following us on Twitch. Total Robust and Toe Boaters R Us and Taylor J92. Thank you for the follow. Thank you, appreciate it. Ross Ulbricht, right? Serretta, creator that was filed with the SCOTUS. The writ. I stopped looking into Ross's case because I got very completely sad and depressed at that last appeal. I did not look into that. I will look into that right now, and I put that on my list of things to go over. I'm not going to lie. Ross's stuff really makes me sad. It hits me up to home because, like going through him and talking to Lynn, it's like, wow, that could have been me. That could have been like half my friends or
anybody, yeah.
Right, Oh, wow.
Well, Steve Covey was kind of the same way, too. Steve Covey's smoking marijuana to keep himself alive, and he ends up getting busted and sent to jail and was killed. He runs he had to go to Canada. Finally was able to come back to California now, but in Colorado. But, I don't know, it seems weird.
Ross Ulbricht formally submitted a writ certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States seeking a hearing for the overturn of decision upheld this year by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Mr. Ulbricht's double life sentence without the possibility of parole is at stake, which is a ridiculous life sentence for someone running a website. When it comes down to it, that's what he was convicted of, running a website. And that bad things were happening on a website that he was running. So, when are you going to pull in a lot of the WoW guys in? The Blizzard in. There's just so many illegal deals that happen on Blizzard servers. Here on Twitch, YouTube, X-Hamster live cams, okay? There's bad deals that happen all around. When are you going to pull these people in?
Aren't there protections against that? Aren't there protections against people who run websites and things happen on the website that are
Correct.
the main purpose of the website?
There is, and they do not care.
Of course.
Because they use the aspect of a fake murder for hire case to demonize him, even though that was not brought up in the trial. He wasn't convicted on it, but he was even brought up even during the appeal. I was like, but fine then. If you think I did a murder for hire case, let's see your evidence. I don't need that. But it goes to show you they got the guns, so they make the rules. Ross Ulbricht respectively petitions for a writ. I'm going to butcher this name again. I'm going to call it Certoria to review the judgment of the United States Court of Appeal for the Second Circuit case to read the terse beginnings of a landmark plea to literally the last resort for Mr. Ulbricht. The writ of contempt orders the lower court, which upheld Mr. Ulbricht's conviction and sentence, to deliver its records so the Supreme Court may review them and decide if further examination is necessary. The SCOTUS is a 9-member body which acts as a final arbitrator in legal matters. Currently, the court has 5 members, considered more conservative, while 4 are thought to be on the permissive side. Neil Gorsuch, recently appointed by President Trump, is said to be not bad on the Fourth Amendment issues, one of the grounds on which Mr. Ulbricht's appeal is based.
And that's the thing, too, is that I have no love for our current president, and even the past president, but it seems to me like the last few justices have actually been very good on its Fourth Amendment stuff. I mean, not like I'd like for it to be, but it seems to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, it gives hope.
Right. So it's like maybe we can counter some of this nonsense with the Supreme Court going forward. Still, I mean, it's still a body we can go to, I think, for a lot of things. Not everything, of course, but
I think it's just ridiculous on the fact alone that it's a double life sentence for someone who has no victim. There's no victim to any one of his crimes, yet he's serving a double lifetime sentence. And the millions of bitcoins, when he was busted in 2013, are now worth billions.
It's crazy stuff, man. I've seen stuff like that over the last 40, 50 years.
Yep. And the thing is,
people's lives just ruined.
The other reason why they won't let them touch the internet is because there's also bitcoins that are missing that they don't have access to. They have no idea where they are. They know that they're supposed to be on a wallet somewhere, but they don't have access to. So they won't let Ross touch the internet because they are afraid that he will get access to those bitcoins and be able to spend money. So that's a double life sentence without access to the internet. Honestly, it's almost like that's basically that's cruel and unusual punishment. It's cruel and unusual.
Well, what did he do to Schiff? They put him in jail.
Yep.
At 80 some years old, in a dank cell. They can't have his medicine, and
yep.
He was in there because he wrote a couple books about you don't have to pay your income tax.
Yep. And he also didn't pay his theft.
Well, but yeah, that's not what he went to jail for.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, they busted him for something else. Yeah.
They busted him for telling people how to do that stuff, or how to get that they could get away with it.
Yep. And as he was dying and asked to just be released, right? So he could die at home with family, which the government has done before. They denied him.
Yep.
Let's see. There's still a while to go before anything concrete can be known. The SCOTUS is under no obligation to pick up the petition. In fact, of the 7,000 or so they receive per year, they hear about 150. And regardless, 0.02% vary. Often the circuit courts are the final word in a great majority of cases, and of the appellate courts, the Second Circuit has comparatively low reversal rate by the SCOTUS. So even if the case is ultimately heard, that is no guarantee Mr. Ulbricht will see relief.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a Hail Mary pass because the other option is just wait to nothing. I think he has to me, like, it's almost like you have a better shot of hoping a libertarian or somebody with a, libertarian lent becomes president and pardons him.
Yep.
Gets him out.
He's going to get a pardon.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of pardons, you know.
Right, the whole Chelsea Manning thing, that was out of left field. I did not expect Obama to do that. And that wasn't even a pardon. That was
I kind of did. Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't see it coming.
I wanted to see Snowden. I wanted him to release Snowden. I just
right. I think a lot of people was talking about how the aspect of let Snowden come home, but like pardon him. It was like, yes, you will come here, you will suspend trial, but we will just pardon you.
Well, they won't let him come home and suspend trial because they know the trial.
Yeah, the trial's a farce.
So they want to.
The trial will be a farce.
Well, it'll be a very public one, though, and I think that's going to bring up the whole conversation that nobody.
Oh yeah.
That's why they're not that hard up on trying to get him back here because they don't want to go through that.
Right.
Now the Manning thing,
that's the other
military court, so that was in secret a lot.
Yeah. That was the other thing with the whole Ross Ulbricht aspect of it. It was the idea of how do they even find the server in the first place? How do they find it?
It was probably a operation by the government.
Right,
the
that's
FBI.
the thing.
They do this all the time where they pretend to be a bad actor, and they get people in. Basically, it's a not clue. What am I thinking of? When you entrap somebody, it was entrapment.
Yeah, entrapment, or they used possibly an NSA tool that they're supposed to be using for terrorists that they used on Russ.
Oh yeah, they don't hardly use that stuff for terrorists. They use it all.
Oh yeah,
silly. Yeah.
Yeah, drug bust and stupid stuff like that.
Well, the thing is, there's so many laws that you can get hit for that they can go to any judge, any kind of search warrant for just about anything.
Right, and
because it's against the law.
Yeah, and most judges don't know tech that much, so they're just going to write it like, yeah, sure, yeah, bust them with the super hacking tool. Yeah, bust them with the hacking tools. But yeah.
It's crazy these days. I mean, you can't rely upon your rights to be defended because nobody's going to defend them. Nobody cares. Oh. You have to be there for your own rights. You have to be smart about it. You can't just be stupid.
Well, see my daughter over there in the corner. I think.
I wish I had to.
I think she wants.
If I thought I could get away with it, I would fight all this stuff because I would be like, I have the right on my side and I know the law and everything. But it doesn't matter. They'll still get you.
Yep. They don't care. You could have the government dead to rights. Have them sit there in the wrong and everything stacked in your side. You could still fail. You could fail hard, lose everything. And even at the end of the day, when they can keep you in jail for a month, you could lose your job, won't be able to pay bills, you lost your house.
They can put you in jail now and you can't even say that you're there. Mm-hmm. You can't even tell anybody it's against the law. How can that be against the law when you're supposed to be getting your rights to attorney, your rights to this and right to that? Free speech. What happened to all that stuff? You should be able to go to the papers and say, this is what's going on. The people should know. They don't want that. They block it.
Yep. No. Yeah. Right. That's why, it's like a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. A lot of them makes it very, they use that information to basically to circumvent a lot of that different things. That's why it's really hard to go after people who have access to podcasts or just have the YouTube community, the YouTubers and Twitch streamers. A lot of small municipalities aren't used to people who have that type of reach. When you do that, that's why the city of Keene, when they were messing with the Keeniacs or the people in the Free State Project up there in New Hampshire, when they were poking them and doing okay, this is what we do, this is our method, this is how we mess, this is how we get the college kids in line, and they went to do that to the Keeniacs, and they realized that won't work. They busted one pot smoker, and one of them got on, Twitter, and the next thing they know, the entire police department was filled with pot smokers. So they just had to let everyone go because they ran out of room to bust pot smokers.
So somebody's Towboater Us is asking how he needs.
How much do I need to donate to Harry's podcast to make it a thing? To make me. The thing is, I like I do love podcasting. I love talking. I love talking like that. And Chris, and
You don't like the technical aspect behind it.
I love that. I love that Chris just does it, and I just show up, puts a microphone in my face. I didn't have to make sure this microphone is best for my voice. I didn't have to do the levels. I didn't have to do the try to get an RSS feed. I didn't have to make a Facebook page. I don't have to deal with people on Facebook. I can just talk in front of a microphone, research topics, and talk in front of a microphone. It's like it's amazing. And when it comes to it, like a lot of different things, and a lot of time when I bring up topics, I don't really think a lot of people don't really care about a lot of things like a lot of the things I brought up here. How many of you guys really, like, a lot of these topics are very weird and interior to my heart, and to me, they have a huge libertarian slant to them, but some people don't. They're like, well, what's the libertarian message in all this? It's like that the government is blocking the correct efficient energy use.
Well, and here's the thing.
Government is like spying on your data. The government is what's up? I'll let you go.
If you're interested in something, there's going to be other people interested in it. You may not be the top 2% in the podcast range and get 100,000, 200,000 followers or anything.
Yeah.
But you could still be talking to people who agree, who think like you do and want to talk about the things that you want to talk about. And you can build a community there where you can actually enjoy talking to those people more than you can. See, when I grew up, I was into things that nobody else in my school cared about, nobody else in my community cared about. I didn't have the access to finding other like-minded people. Once I found the internet, before the internet, the BBSs, once I found that there were other people who thought like I did, it was such a freeing, opening mind space of an event that I realized I can still be me. I don't have to hide who I am. I can find people who think like I do, and I can talk to them. And that made me happy. So that may just be all you need right now, is just to say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. If anybody else wants, don't listen. And put it out there and see. You might get a couple thousand followers, and it'd be fun. You'd be able to communicate with those people and talk about the things you want to talk about in a format, in a way that you want to. And then those people will be the same, where they'll rely on somebody else out there talking about the stuff I want to talk about. You're right, and you give hope to those people.
I like the way you think.
You remember, I grew up at a time where that was not possible. It was hard. Newsletters and stuff like that was all.
Yeah. See, when I got on that, like in the 90s, like, dude, it was so many other people was on for a while that, that's why, I lurk, and I can lurk hard, because I was just so used to just sitting there and letting, these giants, or basically elders of the internet in 98, 97, just talk and just type things. And by the way, before anyone goes elders of the internet, yes, there's a thing called the elders of the internet. And the elders of the internet, I was talking about someone last night about this. The elders of the internet are porn girls, cam girls, and old hackers and computer guys. That's it. Those are the elders of the internet. A lot of the technology, some people's what do you mean? It's we only really got high-speed data and stuff like that because of porn and cam people and sex workers. Because
that's how the VCR industry took off, too.
Yeah, because, trust me,
VCR,
we only needed 56K to get on a BBS. We didn't need anything faster. Okay? IRC chat worked fine, 56K.
And at the time, when you're done, it would take, you'd see it line by line groups.
Yep.
And it was TGA or EGA graph.
Yep. It was I need HD.
It was high res.
Yep.
But that stuff was what kept it. And I'm from that time. You talk to Adam Curry and those guys and the way things were in the day, but it was a Wild West. It was a fun time. And it's still, there's still Wild West there.
Yeah,
you gotta go looking for them. And it's funny because most people use 10% of the internet.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Just
there's
10%.
So much stuff going on that you have no idea about that's out there, man. It's not on You can't go Google it.
Mm-hmm. You can't
Google
Google
will
it,
put
you
it in your
can't find
searches.
it, or you can't go search for it, or that most people, and which gets me is like people will talk about like my computer's so powerful and I do all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, but you just stay on Facebook all day. What's the point? You know, just like my wife's PC over here in the corner. She's like this massive, 16 gigs of RAM, 8-core machine. She just mostly does Facebook. She'll game with me when I ask her to, because she can, but it's a, pretty much a Netflix and Facebook machine. She get around, get around on a Chromebook basically. If you build it,
I use
they
a
will.
Roku for all that stuff.
Yep. If they build it, they will come. You see, yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe, I liked you guys' response, trying to give me confidence in that. Possibly, I will give it a shot. Maybe I will promise you guys nothing, but I will try to give it a shot. Try to stream. I like the idea of trying to just stream. I love streaming on Fridays for doing the games that we do at 11 o'clock at night, Eastern time. Yeah, I have found out something that I have ranted about time and timing and time so much that I actually had somebody buy me timepieces off my Amazon wish list for Christmas this year. So I got like 2 timepieces now. And I carry around with all the different time zones and time on it. I keep talking about time, and I get people to buy me time stuff now, which is weird. But yeah, I think
you can go back. You can go back and look at the old Alta news groups.
Yeah,
Libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and found my posts from the early 2000s.
Oh wow. That's why I keep changing like usernames so no one can find me from like my old posts, my old cringy posts back from the 90s.
I've used the same name. The name I came up, I got the first day I logged on to my. There's a BBS called the TARDIS here in Indianapolis.
Okay.
I logged on. The first thing it did was ASCII drew the TARDIS symbol and said, "What's your username?" And I didn't have one, so I had to come up with one. So I had to come up with, and that's the one I've been using ever since. And it's basically an homage to Night Court and Dan Fielding, the John Larroquette's character. His real name was Reinhold, and the director, the producer's name, the creator's name was. So I used a different spelling. I used the Judge Reinhold spelling.
Yeah.
But still, it was like, I'll just try Reinhold. Ooh, and that's what I use, and I just used it ever since and kind of created a identity from that.
Yes, you can watch recordings. If I leave the recording up on Twitch, it will stay up. Yeah, you can vodcasting and rewatch it. If I linked, I'm trying to get Spangle to link up his Prime account to the We Are Libertarians Steam Twitch account, and then it'll stay up for longer. I have Amazon Prime, and my Prime account's linked to my personal Twitch account, so I can. The reason I don't link it to this one is because I watch streams and communicate and talk and do other things on other people's streams, and that I don't know if Spangle wants associated with that. Also, watch me going in other rooms, shit posting with that. It's too much pressure, and then I also don't want other streamers in rooms that I go into that they think that I'm in there to, steal their channel, promote my channel, to steal their audience. Even though I don't do any talk shows, it's mostly just games and stuff like that. But even that, I was in one streamer's room, and they were talking about ways to get get people in the room. I'm like, well, I mostly get most of my people because of the podcast, and they were like, well, what podcast you listen to? And I'm like, what podcast you're about? I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, don't worry about it. And like, what? Just bring. I'm like, no, it's okay. The guy was like, promote your stuff. It's like, no, I don't want to be accused of that guy who goes in other people's room.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't want to be that.
And it's funny because there are those guys out.
Right. There are all those people that.
Hey, everybody should watch my channel.
Yeah, I get people like that.
I mod. Mm-hmm. So I've got. I'm affiliated on Twitch, and I've got. I mod 4 other channels.
Okay.
On Twitch, so as a mod, I see that stuff all the time, and I have to kill it before it starts. Yeah, so it's weird to see the things that people will do at a channel.
I look at Brad, and I'll go I'm affiliated on Twitch.
Hey, I worked hard to get that. Not partnered, though. That's not going to happen because I don't do full time.
I almost got this channel affiliated. I just didn't have the follower count. That's the biggest problem because I don't.
That's the killer. Yeah, you got to get followers. I can do the stream time. Which
I know I can get it if I would like promote it better. Like if I put this out on the Libertarians Facebook page and just jumped it there, I know I could probably get enough people over to get me over the hump. I know it, but
you should do it.
Yeah, but a lot of those people on that Facebook page I don't like. A lot of those are duty heads. A lot of them are duty heads. Thanks for the likes, but they're duty heads.
That's what the I don't know. It's the thing that Chris was talking about. He's starting to put stuff on the Dear Leaders Court because the regular WAL Facebook page he gets so much crap from.
Everything. Like he put up the those really new commandment things, which is pretty freaking awesome. A lot of people are like, how do you feel about it? And like honestly, I hate the color and the font, but besides that, I like it, and it almost feels like everything that we ever did in WAL, but never really wrote down.
Right.
And then he put it to the Facebook page, and then people go like, the golden rule is not libertarian. Like, oh my god, good. Oh, he's going into semantics. What do you mean every individual makes society will change? I'm like, oh no, why?
People, I don't know. I don't understand. The only problem with libertarianism is libertarian.
Yeah, libertarians. Like, I get shit, like when I was talking, like, I got shit for the FCC comment, like the net neutrality, like, you're waffling, you're trying to play the fence. I'm like, I'm not playing the fence. This is honestly how I feel.
There's a great song by Tim Minchin, Fence. You should listen to it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's basically saying that not everything's black and white, guys. There's a lot of gray out there. You need to understand that and
so much gray.
And just deal with it. People think about things. They don't always think about everything exactly the way you do because we all have different experiences in our lives that can make up who we are. Mm-hmm. So give people some slack and let them think about things. Let them have a different opinion than you do. It's okay. We're all going to be okay. Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be the point of libertarianism, is that everybody can be a little kooky, have their own thoughts, feelings, and it doesn't matter because you're not inflicting that on somebody else. You're not putting your view and forcing it on somebody else. Everybody can be their own person.
Yep. And that's
damn, guys.
I know. It's like, damn. I know.
It's not that hard.
I know. Stop trying to make this a unified message, or it's just like, it's so frustrating. And then, like, even when you try to suggest books to people, like someone goes like, well, like somebody was like, so what's a good libertarian book? And I was listing some books out, and I put Starship Troopers in there, and like, Starship Troopers? Yeah, that's a great. That's a great libertarian book. It's a great libertarian.
Robert Heinlein is one of the few real libertarian authors. Ran because she's an objectivist. Go read Heinlein. He was a libertarian.
See, thank you. You get it. You freaking get it. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, Robert Heinlein's books, so good. And he was showing. It was a great thing about showing what could happen. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like 1984. It was like, this is what could be if we're not watching.
Right.
Right. We could become a militaristic society. Right. 1984 is the same way. This is what we could.
And like a lot
against the natural impulses.
And a lot of the different, some of the speeches, like, were government and the use of force, right? A lot of, like, anarchists, like, people who use these terms, like, dude, like, that's out of Starship Troopers. Most people don't know what, that's out of Starship Troopers. Read the freaking book. It's in the flashback when he's having his freaking flash. All right, sorry, I'm just gonna.
Robert Heinlein is a libertarian author. You should all read.
Yep.
Job is one of the best books ever written. Robert Heinlein, go read him.
You said Job?
Can't be a libertarian.
I've never read Job.
Robert Heinlein. Oh, Job's so good.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to get Job. Okay, I'm gonna have to get that. I did just
all these people talking about Ayn Rand, and it's like, guys, stay off Ayn Rand, man.
Yeah, stay off that.
Seriously.
Yeah. What are you doing to yourself? That's not how you get people.
Because here's the thing. Ayn Rand has a lot of things we agree with as libertarian.
Yep.
And it makes sense. And great. Yep. But there are some things about her that are not great. And things that are not libertarian. Mm-hmm. And it's those things that opponents are using to attack. Every time you say Ayn Rand, they roll their eyes and they attack you with that stuff and they ignore you.
Yep.
Get off. I brought up something that says, hey, no, Ayn Rand, Robert Heinlein's the guy who's a libertarian, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody was attacking me because there's some accusation that he was into kids back in, and it wasn't, and it was all bullshit.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. But they're trying to use that stuff to discount what the guy says.
Right.
You know? And it's the same. You start off the podcast with or not the podcast, but the stream with saying that, okay, here's the source, but I got to be careful. Just because I go to a source doesn't mean I agree with them wholeheartedly. Say that. Mm-hmm. Every source should be so every website that puts out material mm-hmm. usually have different authors. Some of those authors are going to be good, some are going to be bad. Some of the articles that a guy can write are horrible, but he could write something that's actually insightful and well sourced and a good article too. So you have to look at each individual source, each individual thing. You can't just go, oh, that's from MSNBC, I'm discounting it. That's from Slate, I'm discounting it. If what they're saying is correct and what they're saying is sourced and accurate, there should be no problem with using it.
Right.
Don't go out and say, oh, it's from Slate. I'm not even paying attention to it. The most insightful thing there. I mean, it's Slate. They're not going to because they're jerks. But, I mean, they have their weekly anti-libertarian article every Saturday. It comes out. You should go read them. They're funny. But that doesn't mean that they might write something that you can go, hey, that makes something. Or even if it's the opposite of what they're meaning to get you to think about, there's still something to value that you might be able to gain from it. So I read everything from everything, and then I'll look at it, and it's obvious in the beginning that they're doing some funky stuff and trying to propaganda, or they're missing something with critical thought. I will ignore it from that point forward. But just because the headline is clickbait doesn't mean that's what the article's about. You got to remember that, because that's the way authors are, because they want to get people to read their article, so they're going to write some headline that's going to get you to read it. That doesn't mean that's what they're saying in the article. Mm-hmm. I saw that just the other day. Someone wrote an article and somebody was saying something. Did you read the article? Because that's not what he was saying. The article's headline was to get you to go read it. Mm-hmm. What was it? He was actually saying something completely different than what you took out of the headline. It was that article about libertarians need to be anti-racist. And it's like, he wasn't trying to say that we should be enacting laws that are anti. He was just trying to say, as the people mm-hmm. in our societies, we should be moving for that outside of government, mm-hmm. because that's the only way people are going to embrace what our views are, is if we're actively showing them that the results of what we do and enact are going to be good for society. Right.
I also liked that Key and Peele Black Republican sketch. Sorry, I didn't throw you off. Respond to the chat.
Key and Peele were awesome.
Yeah, that was.
Sorry, I hate that they're not on the air anymore.
Yeah.
They were funny, and they had no problems with their,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
at all.
Because that is funny, and I will say, when you go to see, usually like a Black Republican, they do also all have they do have that kind of look to them, and have their white wife with them. That's also hilarious. Which reminds me of talking to some. I had a spat on my own Facebook feed with a family member, my cousin, because I was very upset when I found this thing from Turning Point USA talking bad about Thomas Sowell. Basically, pulling it up here. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. Thomas Sowell. Cool. Thomas Sowell. They posted a meme underneath. That's how I get paid, spreading lies to the poor while telling rich white people what they wanted to hear. And I'm like, can't knock Uncle Tom Sowell's hustle. I'm like, can a black man have a different opinion and facts and not be an Uncle Tom? And my cousin decided to jump in, and it depends whether the opinions are genuine or sincere or held sure. But if they're expressed to pander to white audiences, then no. Then I'm like, well, if you bring up, like, technically to me, then by my point of view, if you pander to white socialists in college, then you're pandering to white people. You're an Uncle Tom, and then it's like, no, you're an Uncle, it could be an Uncle Tom because you're pandering to rich white Republicans. Oh, so rich white Democrats are different. I hate the term, the phrase Uncle Tom, because to me, anytime someone says something like that, then it's like, so you presume to know their intention, you can read their mind, you know what they're thinking, and they know what they're doing. So it's complete bullcrap phrase. It's just more of the adult.
Well, it's not like it's not like Thomas Sowell hasn't been consistent for 30 years, or however long he's been doing this.
Right,
Consistent,
and has came out and talked about socialism, and when he was like a hardcore communist leftist socialist person, he talked about that and the mistakes from it. And when you read his books, like if you like, a lot of people will, like, when I start talking about economics, right? I never took a college economics class. I only took college accounting classes. All my economic teaching comes from Thomas Sowell's books. Okay, his basic economic books. Okay. I read that. That's where all that comes from, and that understanding. The black rednecks and white liberals. That's that book. I love that book. I think it's found here on my bookshelf over here, but I don't. I have it. Apparently, it's probably still underneath my bed because I read it all the time. I love it. I quote from it. I open it up. I pull things from it. It's a great book, another Thomas Sowell book. But I just get upset because a lot of the intellectual black men that I listen to get called Uncle Tom, or get discredited from the black community. So that's Dr. Ben Carson. When I first heard his story back in 96, 97, for being in public school system, and basically I felt I was surrounded by idiots, and that I would be either have to conform to the idiocy that I was surrounded by to do anything, right? To just have fun, and understand that I won't be able to do anything with my life because, from the station I was at. Then, I remember, expressing that to a teacher, and my coach was like, here. This black coach came up to me and handed me a book on Dr. Ben Carson in his entire life, and I read that all weekend long. I read it twice, and I thanked him for that book. I was like, and I did better. I went from not caring about school because I felt it was boring, belittled, and underneath me, to going back at it and trying better. All from hearing Dr. Ben Carson's story, knowing that all I have to do is do what I need to do, get to college, and get to the real world, and I'll be fine. It's
back in after the Civil War, when all the way up to the 50s and 60s,
1863 to 1950,
it was all Republicans. I mean, there were black senators who were Republicans, and it switched just because, basically Johnson found a way to convince the communities to go with his plan, because he was gonna make it better for them.
Hands out, three things.
And he even said that he would have them voting Democrat for the next 50 years.
Yep, and he did.
And he has.
Yeah, he has.
It worked.
Yeah, and they will both wholeheartedly sit there like that. I was having a conversation with, a lot of...
To the detriment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of their society, of the black community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, most black people who are, quote-unquote, not in the black community, right, are so removed from it, because, no, it's such a different way of thinking, right, that is not allowed in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When he was trying to tell me about, a lot of black pastors have a different view on abortion. It's yeah, but come November, they're going to still pull that, that Democrat lever. No matter what their view on abortion is, they're going to pull that Democrat lever. And the thing is, when you, and I try to explain to most more black people, if you remove the Democrat and the Republican term, they align more with libertarians.
Oh yeah.
When you shock them, it's like I was talking. I can't mention this guy's name because of the job that the guy has, but he's freaking awesome. He's one of the black people I know that's gone to Africa and trying to convince me to want to go. I still don't. I may go because I think he might pull me because he sees me, with the kids and know I need a vacation, and he's one of the few people that pokes and want like, come on, come with me, come. But so I may end up going to Africa with him. But anyways. He was talking. Was talking with him, and he was like, most black people are anarchists. They just don't know what the term is, or have any anarchist philosophy books or libertarian. The simple fact that
they don't want to be told what they don't. They've had an. See, that's the thing is that most of them grew up at a time when the government was actively holding them down. So they don't trust the government, right? So. It's kind of frustrating when you see them just like giving in and saying, "Hey, take care of us, take care of us." It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and the ones
everything
that
you should be standing for.
Yeah, and the ones that do get incredible handouts. That's why there's such a divide in low black turnout to vote because the ones
that don't get ostracized by the community.
Right. Yeah, and get reamed. Like, a lot of people are seeing, like, this crime rate going up in Indianapolis right now, and they just can't explain it, and it's in weird different areas that they've never seen before. The reason behind it, because it used to be very localized in Indianapolis because of Section 8 housing and then where the housing structure goes in Indianapolis. You would put, they would, people who didn't know anything to Section 8 housing would be over here. In the Obama era, they put out this different housing thing. It's housing share access or something like that, and it's based off of income and how many kids you have. So what you got is a bunch of people having a lot of kids and moving into like nice, expensive, gigantic apartments in nicer areas, right? And they're bringing the whole area around them because they can afford something else. But you get a lot of them to pack into some of these larger things, like you. Let's see. My grandpa still believed racism was still a thing when he passed away. And that's just from his.
Racism is still a thing.
Yeah, racism is still a thing. Minds do lazy things. The human mind does things. It's more of an act on them. So you've got let's say Lake Castleton. You've got people with like 5+ kids moving to these apartments with other people, and they get like $800 for their rent, their high rent, and then they basically get $1,400 from the government, so they get all this extra cash with this. So you get other people to compound that to get this huge cash fund scheme up there, and that's why you get all the other people to pull different things. He went to an all-black school. Yeah, he probably saw what he saw, and he put his standards to it, and that's what he wanted. That's what it is. It is what it is. It's more if you act on it and you do something about it. That's the problem with it.
Well, it was hard. It was hard for black people to get into white school. I mean, they were actively blocking that. Yeah, because the colleges were trying to.
Well, the Democratic.
They wanted to keep people. They wanted to keep people happy in the college, and if there was enough people there who would have thrown a fit because of that, they were integrated. They were going to lose people coming there, so they made that decision. It wasn't the right one, I don't think, but it's still, that's still what they did.
Right. And like a lot of people always talk about the Southern strategy, but the thing I always like to bring up is like, well, when the South became more Republican, it became less racist. Lynching stopped when the South became more Republican.
Well, a lot of people mistake that they don't really understand the black strategy. It wasn't really what they think it was.
Yeah, that too.
It was coinciding with other things that were going on. And it's not.
There's so many different layers. It's a 7-layer bean dip of things that was going on at that time.
Yeah, there was an act of trying to kick out. It was. I mean, there's a whole article that kind of discounted this whole thing. It wasn't. The Southern strategy really didn't work the way they wanted it to or thought it was going to. There was just people getting. There were Republicans getting elected that had no chance before, right? So they didn't, and so these people were getting in who weren't really. They were like the Doug, not Doug Jones, but the Roy Moores of the world were getting in, and just because they needed people to fill those slots because they were finally getting chances to win elections, And that's how it kind of came to pass. So we had a lot of problems down there in the South with that. But it wasn't really, the active campaign wasn't really what people are making it out to be these days.
Which is, everything is also weird because if everyone has basically the access to the Library of Alexander, all this information, all these facts in their hands, in their pockets, they can go home and Google all these facts, but they still get, they still run in their echo chambers and don't see facts, and they don't want to because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Well, I heard this today from but there's a Boston.com is a guy that wrote an article there. There's I don't know if he's a professor somewhere or whatever, but trying to make the case that Jingle Bells is racist.
Jingle Bells is racist?
Yeah. It was originally written to make fun of. Now, there's no sourcing for this that's really any legitimate, and still, and nobody's ever been able to make the case definitively that that's the case. But it's just like, really, you guys are going there. I don't know. It just seemed kind of silly to me that they're trying to make that case now. It's hilarious.
That's like when they were trying to do "Baby, It's Cold Outside." It's like, well, this is part of rape culture. You see this? Rape culture.
Well, it kind of is, It's kind of...
How is it? How is it? How is it rape culture?
Getting the woman to stay. But the thing is, it's supposed to be about the play.
Right.
The play that was there between the man and the woman, where the one's like, no, I don't really want to, and I shouldn't. But, she really does, and you're just doing your, hey, come on, baby,
Correct,
and that was part of it for years. I mean, come on, it's rape. That's not rape.
Right. She's supposed to be
That's
playing
convincing someone to make a decision.
Right. It's almost like they're making out, right? The guys who just walk up, hey, show me Bob's vagine, okay, is the most, the most feminist action because he's very upfront with his things. No romance in it at all, like, show Bob's vagine. No? Okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Show me Bob's vagine, bitch, lasagna. How many people got that? I wonder how many people sat there and like, huh? I wonder if I can find that song, Bob's Show. Bob.
And I'm sitting there going back through the whole something in there that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Can't, for the life of me, think of anything.
Yeah, how is that racist?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, beauty.
It's.
I haven't been able to. I look at that. That a song about going to your grandmother's house on a sleigh is somehow making fun of black people. What?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Birth of a Nation, I get. That was completely off the charts wrong. But it was still a masterpiece in cinematography. It was just a horrible, horrible, stupid story. Mm-hmm. And pure propaganda. The KKK's saving the world from the... What? I don't know how anybody can watch that and not just... Oh my God, that horrible movie. Yeah. And the sad part is, it is probably one of the greatest advances in cinematography of the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's almost to what Charlie Chaplin was doing with his movie. Mm. It was at that level, but it was just such a horrible, horrible, horrible story. So bad.
Freaking Clayton just triggered me in the wall chat. Freaking Clayton. Mm-mm. Freaking Clayton. Can't wait till he moves.
You're supposed to be moving, aren't you? What are you going to do with Wall when you move?
I'm probably going to
remote in.
Yeah, remote in, or like go out there and co-op Roger Paxton, make him leave office, co-opt him, make him better. Can you
knock some sense into Roger Paxton?
I don't know. Roger Paxton is what he is, and a lot, which I am more scared about. Like, is like Spangle. Like, I didn't know Spangle could have autism. Okay. But he went on to this huge spectrum about how New Hampshire turns people into this like echo chamber, and they all start sounding the same way. And he like hit me with it for like I don't know. It felt like 30 minutes of different things. Of he was just like, "This is what's going to happen to you up there." See, and he kept showing me like this is Roger before, Roger after. This he just kept going after people moving up there. I'm like, "Oh my, stop this, stop."
Well, and I listened to that first Lions of the not Lions of Liberty,
League of Liberty,
the one that they all do together. Yeah, League of Liberty.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it immensely, except for every time he spoke.
Yeah, he's got a terrible microphone.
Because
terrible mic.
Well, and not just that. It's just that he was so against. He's one of the people who's like, we should be taking back the Libertarian Party, making it more pure and this and then. Just shut up. This is the exact opposite. We've had this fight for 40 years. Stop it.
Got to take it back. Make it pure. Purity test. And the purity test started up again.
Well, I keep arguing with the guy from the Mises Institute. Or from, the Mises Coalition or whatever, the LPMC.
Yeah.
I argue with him all the time, and it just frustrates me to no end because it's just, he's hook, line, and sinker into this thinking, and it's like, dude, you got to understand, not everybody's going to think exactly like you do. Stop it. But he's got that mindset. I mean, you go look at when I first encountered him and had an art because he came into some Facebook group and said, "We're taking the Libertarian Party back. Come join us at this." When somebody says that just sets me off. It's a trigger point. We're taking it back. It's ours. It's not yours to take back. It's ours that we're directing together. It's the one party where we can all have a say. Mm-hmm. So shut up. But then I want to see who this guy is. I go to his Facebook page, and it's all truther stuff. And it's like, oh my god!
Take it back from what?
This is what you're dealing with.
Like I said, take it back from what? It's a party of individuals. As long as you come down to the basis point, it's fine. It's fine.
Well,
and the thing is,
last time, remember when it was taken back in '83? Remember that? What happened?
I was born in '85, so no.
So what happened?
Oh no! Nope. Cut this mic. Well, no, cut your mic.
No, but it was a big deal that so many libertarians don't even know about.
Right? This is how I mute. Right? Server hole mute you. Okay, I'm just gonna.
It's an important part of libertarian history that so many people don't have any clue, but you can't even really find much about it.
See, I don't know why the call-in guest is crappy on the live stream. Like trying to take over the show with his talk about 1983, where again.
I've done long screeds about this on Discord. Trust me.
I left Discord that day. I was like, "What are they doing? Stop ruining my Discord."
No, it's good. You should know this history.
I got you.
Gareed. What he what's his name? It's so bad. But we had 50 state ballot access. We had 1% of the vote almost.
Nice. What the heck did you do? What did you guys break? Stop breaking things.
And then they wanted to take the party back. And they did. They knocked out a bunch of people from the party who still have never come back. And we went down to 30 state ballot access and 0.2% of the frickin' vote the next election. It just got ugly.
Personally, I think the Libertarian Party needs to do 2 different things. Okay? First off, it needs to concentrate its efforts in Nebraska and New Hampshire. Okay? Second steps. Now, as a non-Libertarian Party member, I haven't given the Libertarian Party any money, and this is outside looking in, and this is my opinion of what they should do. So they need to do that. The other thing the Libertarian Party needs to do is to convince anarchists that it's funny, right? It's the biggest troll in the world to come back and just vote for the Libertarian Party because it'd be the best troll in the world. What? And they need more.
No, it's just...
and they need more candidates like James Weeks and Vermin Supreme. Also, I think
that'll help.
I think Build Well did more for the Libertarian Party than a lot of people have in the last 10 years. There's so many. I'm sorry. There's so many people.
I agree with that.
There's so many people I knew that was turned off on libertarianism that either went into libertarianism because of Bill Weld for some freaking reason. I don't understand it, but hey, more power to them. Or people that was like, screw the party, I'm never coming back. Saw Bill Weld and were like, I'm back.
Well,
they were like, I'm back.
One of the guys,
screw this.
One of the guys
who
left in the purge in '83 actually was going to spend money. Gary Johnson were a candidate. They were actually, the Purple Pack was actually going to put a bunch of money into the campaign. And then they saw what the party members were doing to Gary Johnson and backed out.
I am not pro Bill Weld. I'm also not pro. I'm pro Gary Johnson. The candidate I backed in the LP for president was the establishment anarchist candidate Darrell W. Perry. Okay, all right. And I didn't get my establishment candidate. Okay, yeah, the establishment. Which was awesome, by the way, when I go to chat rooms, like, hey, we need to go for the establishment candidate here. Oh, so Gary? No, Darrell W. Perry. Establishment, okay? Establishment character. We know exactly what we will get from a Darrell W. Perry presidential candidate. We know exactly.
You will get 10% of the vote, 20% of the vote, or 0.2% of the vote, and the attention whatsoever.
How dare
it's like
you?
Michael Badnarik. Do you remember Badnarik?
Darrell W. Perry would pull like at least upper teens.
Not a chance.
Upper teens.
Not a chance. It was the same message that he was going to present. And nobody bought. Nobody cared.
Dude, Darrell W. Scary, dude.
It didn't matter who was running. To be honest with you, it didn't matter who ran. Nobody was going to get more than Gary Johnson did at all because it was too close. If it had been a blowout in the election, I could have seen 10%.
I think.
Easy.
I think
but so many people were so close, and they were like, "I have to vote against it. I have to do that. Even though I want to vote for these guys, I can't."
Yeah, I think Austin Peterson would have been terrible. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Also think that would have been awful. Even though I did, I kind of like some of the stuff he does, but he's
a troll.
He's a troll. He's very young and immature. Would he probably?
And he's very fast. He is fast on his feet, and he thinks very quickly. And give him that.
Now,
he
granted,
he needs some experience.
Yeah, granted, he would have been a great. Like if he would have humbled himself and decided to be, and demanded the VP ticket. Right? Then went to the Gary Johnson campaign and went like, hey, I'll step down right now for support for you, and I will go VP, right? And humbled himself. That would have been okay because I see him. He would have got Donald Trump's goat and got him to respond on Twitter, right? And got attention that way. But he would have got destroyed on a public stage.
Yeah,
outright destroyed.
And everybody complains about Gary Johnson, but he is actually a decent person. If you watch his debates from when he won in New Mexico, he destroyed his opponent. It was awesome to watch. To watch those old debates, he was very good at that, and because he's always like very nice, but he also gets those zingers in a way that makes him still seem nice.
Right. Yeah. Which Austin would have got destroyed in a debate with Donald Trump. Would have outright destroyed.
The thing about Bill Weld is that he's actually one of the most intelligent people you'll ever meet. The guy is super, super, super smart. And that's part of his downfall with libertarians is because he will sit and say, I'm going to, let's look at the nuance on this issue. And libertarians don't want to hear that. They want to hear, straight up, this is the way it is, blah, 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 boom.
Right. The 3D, chess move of him talking about Hillary, right? It may have pissed you off, but if you look back at it without anger or out of it, that actually drew so much attention to him because of the outrage or just the different talk of it. That made people put a camera in his face.
Everybody's like, she's a great public servant. They don't get it. He's saying in that moment, he's coming off nice, but he's saying she's establishment. She is a career politician. She is not good for, he's saying all that in that statement, and nobody's getting it. Everybody's like, "No, he was praising her." Okay, so he's friends with her, and he's known her for years. I get that, but he also said in every single interview that her policies would be horrible for the United States.
Right.
Every single time.
In full context. You also notice how Hillary didn't respond, right? If it's supposed to be praise, why didn't Hillary respond? Tried to go with because she knew, and everyone else knew around him, that was a diss. And if they went for the fuel content, it was a diss. Yeah, but that's hindsight, and that's out of the election year heat and the anger, and the people are so polarized. Even here in WAL, we were polarized for it too. I'm not gonna say we're above that fray either, But it's just stuff you get from looking back at it, going like, crap baskets,
Well, he did this interview too, and this is the other thing. He did this interview with a guy who was way far left interviewer, right? It was obviously the guy was, let's ban all guns. Mm-hmm. And he's making the point to him that even if you ban all the AK-47s or whatever, the problem's not with the AK-47. Most of the deaths are due to handguns, and he talked about people turning guns into automatic with the thing, and he got some of the terminology wrong, which pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But they were trying to say that he was pro-gun control because of that interview. And if you listen to what he was trying to say to this interviewer, he was making the point that the guy was wrong, that they shouldn't be banning guns. Mm-hmm. And he did a good job of it in a hostile interview of turning that interviewer's mind around, right? And if people would just see that that's what his goal was, to reach out to the people who are completely anti-gun and making them go, okay, maybe we shouldn't be as anti-gun as we are. He brought them to the halfway to the table, basically, in that interview. Mm-hmm. They would have seen that that's what he was trying to do. They don't give him credit for that.
Nuance is dead, my friend. All right, so
nobody wants to hear it.
It is 11 o'clock. My daughter is still up annoying my wife, so she's probably waiting to CB so I can put her to bed. So that means in that bombshell, I'm going to end this show. I like to, first off, thanks everyone who came in, gave us a follow. You pushed me way over my follower goal that I was attempting to get. We're at 21 followers. I think our next goal is to get to 25. So that'll be great. That'll also give us on point to possibly get this channel to be affiliate. But I'll probably stream back on here tomorrow night when we play game recording. But most people are still on the road, so like that. So I don't know what game we're going to play tomorrow. Probably do Paladins. If not, if no one wants to play Paladins, or we'll play Sanctum 2, or whatever anyone wants to play, when it comes down to it, I will probably just sit here and play Shadowverse if no one wants to play any games with me. We should do more of this. We should do this more. Could this be a regular thing? I don't know if this would be a regular thing. I talked to Spangle about it. I'll make up 4 accounts. Don't do that. Do not make accounts and follow this thing to get it over to different goals like that, because Twitch hates that. They go after accounts for doing stuff like that because it may look like I directed that or something like that. So don't do that. I did like this format. I think I might change it a little bit because this felt kind of like a Tuesday or Thursday, like a news recap mostly. I would like it. I did like the long form aspect, almost like how the old Thursday show was. I would really like to do that on like a Friday night drink stream, like relax for the week. Like we pick a topic on like Monday, right? And then invite people on for Friday and just do a long form topic here on Friday. I think that would be awesome. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there. I don't know if we'll do this again, just throwing ideas out there. But if you guys like that, respond back, get on me, get on Spangle to push me to do this more often. So that's where that it is. So, Reinhold, any final thoughts?
Nope. Just glad that you put up with me being on here. And if you guys want to have me back on and talk, I'll be glad to do that. I love to talk.
Yeah, I do enjoy you. I think it's impressive that a Rhino had got internet access and a microphone and got it online. So I feel people will, like, when they give me like their tags.
Sob story.
I don't. Just just their usernames and like. And my real name. Nope. Your real name is your username. That's your real name. Your real name is just the name your parents gave you. Your real name is your user tag.
Your identity, yeah.
Yep, that's who you are.
Your chosen identity.
That's how you relate to me. Personally, we are Libertarians will be back in 2018 for proper episodes on Tuesday and Thursday. Spangle has done a lot with the show. He's been out for almost a fortnight now, and he has been doing a lot of different things behind the scenes. It's really, really cool. Even watch his brain work, in Trello and different stuff that he's just sitting there, just typing away, being alone all this time, just working on different things. It's really, really cool stuff. And I can't wait for him to share everything with you and bring everything out. I can't do anything but all I can just give you try to give you that excitement out there about it. And like I said, keep the excitement up. Talk to Spangle, talk to more people about it, and I may keep doing this again. Thank you for watching We Libertarians here on Twitch for this low-key secret episode. Of people, this is for those in the know or this Discord. I'll also give a shout out to the Discord channel. I'd also give a shout out to the patrons of We Are Libertarians. I don't have that list. That Spangle deals with all the Patreon money and it does all that stuff. I don't do that. I'm just a guy who comes in front of the microphone, so I don't have any of that list. So I'm out to thank you for the people who did follow us and we went in the chat, participated in the chat, and even out to the lurkers, the people who are out there lurking. I appreciate you lurking. You lurkers are awesome. Don't let anyone say lurking is stupid. Lurking is awesome. That means you're just listening and absorbing information. Okay? So, once again, thanks for listening to Libertarians, and yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Bye, everybody.
Peace out.